The aim of the game has been so simple. To be the best driver out there in the world, you must beat all challengers in front of you. This, in the purest form, can be for a whole championship, but with a championship already decided, we'll bring it back to its purest form. It's one race, it's one opportunity. Am I faster than you? It's a bragging rights feel to the end of your season 7 here for Creator Series. My name's Jake Sperry, Hayden Gullis along with me for the ride today. And Hayden, it has been a championship that has been personified by the inconsistencies of many others around the course of the season, but the consistency that El Giri has had to become the king of this season 7. This final race here at Monza at the Temple of Speed will prove to everybody right now that either there's going to be a challenge on the horizon for season 8, or there is a marker stick that is very tough to dislodge.
Yeah, congratulations to El Rey. He is our champion of Season 7 and still continues this streak that we are yet to see a reigning champion or a two-time champion in the Creator Series. Could Season 8 be the first time that we have that? We have a lot of potential drivers who will be able to take that. But it's been a fascinating season this year around. El Rey, as you said, has just been so goddamn consistent. It's been brilliant to watch. And I think it's been a really great story to watch from El Rey as well this season. You know, he went from the villain when he first joined, always getting a little bit elbows out. People didn't like it. Disappeared for a little bit. He came back. He was still that villain. But this season, he's really cleaned up his driving. He's still that aggressive driver, but he knows when to pick and choose his battles this time around. He said he had one goal this season. It was going for the championship, and he really has done that. And I've just got to say, it's been fascinating to watch him, and I've really, really enjoyed it.
I've really enjoyed seeing his driving as well. He's never really put a massive foot wrong. He's always been in the conversation for wins and podiums, and that's what's kept him up that top level. And you look at the caliber of drivers that he's been able to mastermind around over the course of this season. He's only matched the amount of wins that Tom 97 has, so it's 3 wins apiece from them. Alex Gillen with 3 race wins this season, then the one for Tiamat Marduk that puts him tied on points with Meraki 4th and 5th, both of them with a win apiece. It's been a long season, but it's been one where no one's truly been able to sink their claws into it, Hayden. I think that's been the telling factor, that it's been about, well, it's not just when you're driving on your A day, it's when your B day and your C day has to pretty much come into effect.
Yeah, and I think that's why El Rey's just been so clear so far this season. It's just been the consistency. There hasn't necessarily been an off day. And if there has been, it hasn't really hurt him too much. I'm just trying to look at his worst result this season, and it's no lower than 12 points scored, which I believe is a 6th position in the race. So that is pretty solid consistency, that's your worst result. And with points being allowed all the way down to 15th position, it should bring the grid a lot closer, and El Rey's just shown that it hasn't done. To win it with one round to go is just incredible to see. But there's been some really good challenges so far this season. Tom 97, Alex Gillen, Tiamat Marduk, as you have mentioned. But yeah, just they haven't been able to provide that consistency that El Giri has been able to show. And there's been other drivers who have been on the mark this season. Nogueira is a driver who has been exceptionally quick in qualifying, always been fighting at the front, challenging for those pole positions. Those little mistakes, those little errors, that's cost him in the hunt for the championship, and also the hunt for race wins. It still eluded him. Maybe today could be the day that he throws down that gauntlet and says, you know what, I've cleaned up my act, I've got that consistency now, I'm going to challenge for the championship in Season 8.
We also saw, of course, Round 11's feature the return of M Sky Z picking up a victory on top of that as well. So we've got so many different drivers who are wanting to stake their claim, and they're getting more of that understanding on how this game is going forward and the life cycle that goes about that. But let's talk about Monza for a moment here, Hayden, because this is a circuit that every driver marks as bucket list in terms of the way it drives. It's one of the oldest circuits out there. It's one of the most famous circuits out there. We're about 5 miles out from the industrial city of Milan, and this Monza racing circuit, of course, the Autodromo Internazionale Monza, is a track that you cannot replicate in the modern world of Formula 1. It is 70% at least full throttle, and is quite simply put, I would say, a white elephant in terms of how you go and build a racing track and design a racing track.
Yeah, a brilliant track to go racing around as well. We did it yesterday in the F2 and we had a lot of fun around there. It wasn't a case of just working together in DRS trains, which is something that I am going to kind of expect from the drivers here today in the F1 series. They're a lot more well behaved. They work together and they're a lot tidier. They focus more about what happens in the final few laps rather than what happens in the early days. But there are the potential to make overtakes back and forth, work your way back through the grid. You know, if you get a car that has really low aero, which is obviously going to be important down here, you have a full battery, you burn it all down in towards turn 1, you could potentially be looking at overtaking 3 cars down in towards that first corner, but it's a very tough braking zone, especially on lap 1. We see an incident almost a certainty down into there, and I'm sure with the drivers and the caliber that we've got today, there'll be a few front wings knocked off down there.
Well, it's a tale as old as time, the Variante Rettifilo being one of the places where incident happens, especially on lap 1 of these events. So keep an eye out on drivers when they go and make their efforts in the racing to try and put it together. Of course, we will have qualifying just before that to try and set the grid for what will be this race coming up. And this is maybe one of the few circuits out there that you look at and the way that you've got to make a championship race like this happen, Hayden, that qualifying isn't necessarily as important because you do have that great opportunity to find overtakes pretty much everywhere, down into the Rettifilo, over to the Della Roggia, through to Seraglio and up into Ascari. Almost everywhere here today is an overtaking place. Yeah,
pretty much. You've smashed the nail on the head right there. And I don't think qualifying ever is truly important in the Creator Series. We have seen it so many times where drivers have made a mistake in qualifying and they found themselves back at the front. Yes, okay, it allows you, if it is a very clean race, which is 50-50, you know, it's a flip of the coin when we do a Creator Series race. Either we're going to have absolutely no safety cars, no incidents whatsoever, and it will be lights to flag. Or we get 6 of them, and it is pure chaos and carnage. And it's all about whether you get that right. If it is a chaotic race, obviously qualifying isn't going to matter too much. If it is a lights to flag one, though, it's going to make your life even more difficult if you don't work your way up to the front, because those drivers at the front can work together to break away from the pack. But you know, I'm hoping for a chaotic one. I don't know about you, Jake, but yeah, qualifying might not matter too much today.
Qualifying, though, is the first real indicator that we will see on who's got pace and who has not. But around somewhere like here, where there aren't many braking zones to deal with over the course of the lap, sometimes those margins become a little bit more finite than what we've seen over the course of other race circuits this season. And sometimes this is a track that does often find the element of surprise because you've got those lesser amounts of braking zones. It means that you've got to prioritize every corner just a little bit more.
Yeah, certainly so. There's a lot of corners where it's very easy to get it wrong. There's a lot of places for you to invalidate around here or pick up some warnings around track limits. Ascari, you've got to be fully committed through there, especially over the first part, because you can cut a lot of the inside of that corner, but go a little bit too far, your lap's completely gone. And also the second chicane as well. That first part, you really want to time where there's a little curb, a little orange sausage curb on the inside. You want to place your car perfectly around that sausage curb so that you can cut as much as possible, but not bounce over the curb and unsettle you for the exit of that chicane. So a lot of places for you to win time, but also a lot of places for you to lose it.
There are certainly places here, there, and everywhere that can make the difference. We take a look over to Q1. 18 minutes worth of time for these 20 drivers to put their best time on the board. We will slice off the bottom 5 drivers here in this session, but this is a chance to introduce those who are joining us for the first time, Hayden, about the intermediate bonus point, which is so crucial to the Creator Series.
Yep, and right on cue, we've got a couple of Red Bull cars going out of the garage at the moment. That's Mr. Dale, and that is that guy Vince. Now, you might be wondering, why on earth are they going on intermediates? It's a dry track. There's no rain whatsoever. Well, Jake has put it very well. There is an extra point up for grabs in the first few minutes of qualifying. They have to get a lap time in before the clock reaches 12 minutes remaining. If they manage to do that, then they will be able and if they manage to do that, and they set the fastest lap time on those intermediates, then they will get an extra point, which of course is going to help them in whatever championship battle they are having around the field. Mr. Dale, one of the first ones in the Red Bull, he's going around the track at the moment, and he's going to be building up that tyre temps to get ready to go for that lap on the inters.
Yeah, he's certainly someone that you look down through at what he's been hoping for, and he wants as much as he can out of today, knowing that he is technically classified as 37th in the championship at the moment, and an extra point would certainly leapfrog him up a good 3 or 4 positions overall if he can manage that. So that's worth keeping in mind as he looks to try and make his run forward today in his racing action. So we will hopefully get a chance to see how he attacks with his Red Bull through this flying lap, and he will take his opportunity to warm those tyres up and really give himself that opportunity to slingshot out of the curve at Alboreto and make that launch along the long front stretch. And the thing about the intermediate tyres is that they're incredibly chunky. It raises the ride height of the car, Hayden, so as such, you get that feeling of effectively feeling like you're driving a 4x4.
Yeah, totally. And you're going down into this first corner, and it's going to feel okay down into the first braking zone. It's not going to feel horrendous, but as you go through the lap, the tyres are going to get more temperature on them, and it's going to become more and more difficult. It's all about that risk versus reward in this part of qualifying. Do you think you have the pace to go for that point? Do you risk it? And if you do, and you don't get it, and you end up in a barrier, you could completely throw away your whole qualifying. Down into the second chicane, how much does Mr. Dale cut? Just a little bit over the sausage curb, avoids it through the second part, and it's a nice, tidy exit from the Red Bull driver. Now in towards the first Lesmo. Away from the inside of the curve, missed the apex slightly, will be full send into the second part. And again, not quite taking as much apex through there as he would have liked. Ran the car just a little bit too wide and would have lost time slightly through there as well. Now setting himself up for the Ascari chicane. Get the car over to the right-hand side. Braking the 100-meter marker board. Cut the apex as much as you can possibly get away with. If you want to ride that curb, be careful not to lose the rear of the car. Let the car extend out wide there. Get right on the white line, and again, make sure that you do not invalidate. One corner left to go. It's the Parabolica, and it's going to be on the brakes around the 50-meter board. Get the car in fifth gear, back on the throttle as easy as you possibly can. That guy Vince will go the fastest. Mr. Dale looks like he's not going to complete his lap and will come into the pit lane.
Yeah, that's going to be a shame there for Mr. Dale, who couldn't quite find what he wanted out there at that point in time. You can see the red on the track map on the right-hand side of the screen indicating that the lap was invalidated and as such did not work. Safsho going fast then on a 21.5. It's 3/10 quicker than Tiamat Marduk. No El Rey Geary today, so the one thing we can confirm from today's racing is everybody who is looking for a big result, and immediately a 5-place grid penalty for Tiamat Marduk, contact with Safsho, and it's an extra 5 for Tiamat Marduk now to try and find his way forward with.
Yeah, that's not going to be ideal for Tiamat Marduk. Thankfully for him, though, there's no championship on the line anymore after El Rey Geary has wrapped that up. But of course, he's got his own battle with Alex Gillen and Tom 97. As you can just see ahead of Unstopped Rob, that will be a bit of a distraction in Unstopped Rob's eye line going down in towards the Lesmo, the two Lesmos there with Tiamat Marduk and Zafso just sort of playing with each other out on track at the moment. But not ideal as Punju goes fastest, but that is on a set of soft tyres, so that will not count towards the intermediate championship point.
Yeah, so we're just under a minute to go then before the intermediate cutoff finds itself in play. Unstopped Rob is hoping that he can get a little bit of a something then with his bonus points. So he set his first, or his purple middle sector out there on the lap, and now it's getting a little bit dicey for him in front, and another 5-place grid penalty for Tiamat Marduk for collisions with Safso. He'll be starting from the back at this rate with the way that he's going through, and he's having a bit of joy with those around. He'll pull off into the pits. We'll see where Unstopped Rob goes. He goes second fastest of the inter-runners on a 21.7, so that will be not enough for what he's hoping. Tom 97 can't quite get the lap that he wants, but can Meraki, who's tied on points with Tiamat Marduk, do anything? No, he can't find a slight edge there with 5 seconds remaining then on the clock. Yorpa then is going to be maybe the last driver who's going to find that time, because the cutoff is there. I believe the way it works here right now, Hayden, is that you cannot start another lap on the intermediates after the cutoff.
Nope, and you cannot set one after the cutoff either. So Yorpa will not get this lap in, will not get it in time. He will come across the line and we'll see whether it's fastest or not. But it is going to be Zafso who will take the intermediate championship point for the final round in Monza for Season 7. And that extra point is going to go to him for the second time this season. And Team Marduk, of course, taking up 10 place penalties as well. But Yorp, as you can see, coming into the pit, seeing that they've missed out on the cut-off point. And now everybody's going to be putting on a set of soft tyres and going to try and set the fastest laps possible to make sure they're not in that bottom 5.
That extra bonus point for Safsho and his Alpine will now move in tied on points with Infratic, who is not here today in the Ferrari. Dark Viper will be taking his place, who's 17th in the championship overall, and these drivers now will start focusing on whether they can put their best time forward and gain a little bit on the order. We focus on Dragonflies at the moment in the second of the Aston Martins, the first of those being driven by Arseno TTV at this point, and that is as straight on as it gets, and we're going to get a carbon fibre, or I would say a polystyrene shower, so to speak, there, down at the Rettifilo.
Now, I don't know whether potentially I thought that Dragonflies was going to be working for Dark Viper, but it looks like Dark Viper's also slowed down, because Dark Viper was getting an amazing slipstream through that first chicane. Is he still on a push lap? It does look like he is actually still on a push lap. So Dark Viper is getting an amazing slipstream from Dragonflies, who's just cutting every single corner to put himself in front. They're in different teams, but they're good friends from Formula 2, and they're working together to try and see if they can get Dark Viper into Q2, and also maybe later on fight for pole position as well. Now, Dark Viper isn't necessarily going to need this as much at this section, but I've got to say it could actually be slightly off-putting. You know, trying to throw it into the Ascari chicane when you've got a car so close in front and you're not too sure what they are doing. Could be a little bit distracting to the eye line, but he is picking up that slipstream. It is going to work out for him, and let's see if it puts him towards the top and makes him safe. Obviously, if he can put in the fastest time right now on the soft tyres, he can chill, he can sit back, relax, and not have to worry about going again later on and save that set of tyres. Across the line, it is fastest, but it's only a tenth quicker than Punju, and I don't think that's going to be safe.
Well, it might not be safe at the end, which will mean that Blackmere's time of a 120.5 definitely isn't safe. Oh, roles reverse. So that is, I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine. So he'll go straight over, and now he'll give Dragonflies the toe. This is fascinating.
Yeah, this is really working well for both of them, but they're not timing it as well as maybe Dragonflies would have liked. But now watch to the right-hand side. As Dragonflies goes through the chicane, Dark Viper actually just cuts to the left. But Mr. Dale goes even quicker without any slipstream, goes to a 19.7, which makes me think that they're not actually helping each other. In fact, they're potentially making it worse for each other just because they're distracting each other and not getting those perfect lines around the track. But they're going to have the DRS now, the slipstream. This is going to work out nicely for them. And then Dragonfly is going to pick it up on the run down of Parabolica. Oh, well, that's not going to help.
Dark Viper's left the session, so he will not be going any quicker at the moment than his second position overall as things stands right now in Q1. So that pretty much says all you need to know about that. But here goes the look then through the Curva Alboreto and over towards the stripe once more. We'll see what Dragonflies can do with his lap. Still having to harvest some battery as he makes that charge to the line. So only a 120.3, which at the moment will be fine. But of course, you get those drivers like Safsho and Unstop Rob and Tiamat Marduk who will then find their times on the set of the soft tyres. This is Rasin Chai making his way through 11th in the championship as things stands, looking for maybe a couple of points. He'll need 9 to jump over past Tom, who is in the second of the Alpines, currently classified down in 15th position. So for him, it's going to be a case of what can he find on this lap, and there's something so special about seeing a red Scuderia Ferrari here at Monza.
Yeah, he's going to be hoping that him and his teammate Dark Viper can put on a good show today. It was very interesting. I've never seen that before with Dark Viper when he disconnected from the session, that it just immediately teleported him all the way to the pit lane. Now, usually I expect the AI to take over and just drive them comfortably back into pit lane, but Dark Viper got a bit of a shortcut there, back into the pits. But yeah, Razan Shai yet to set a lap time, invalidated on his first run on the soft tyres. Pick up a lovely bit of a toe there from an Alpine. I believe that one was Zafso out on track, but might be Tom. Tom, of course, back after a little break for moving house. He's moved house in the last couple of weeks, so hasn't been racing with us for a bit, but he is back in that Alpine car and has currently got himself up into second position. Razan Shai now coming through the final corner. What can he do? Can he put himself near the top?
Well, Nogueira's just gone quickest on a 19.3, and Razin Chai hoping that he can leapfrog. He goes fourth fastest on a 19.8 there, so a good time nevertheless that will put him up at the pointier end of the field. M-Sky Z has just gone third fastest then on a 19.6, so he certainly found a nice time in his kick Sauber. So at the moment, Nogueira from Tom, from M-Sky Z, from Mr. Dale, and from Razin Chai. Remember that Tiamat Marduk's got the 10-place grid penalty out there after his 2 bits of contact with Safsho out there, so he'll have work to do over the course of 53 laps worth of racing, and these drivers dropping down underneath the oval banking, the old oval banking of this circuit. They will have to be careful there though a little bit, Hayden, because of the small bump that is there when you get right down onto the bottom. It can sometimes unsettle machinery like this.
Yeah, it certainly can. And of course, you know, when you're running free wide down in towards this straight, as you can see, the bridge just sticks out a little bit on that left-hand side. And if you're trying to risk it by putting the car on the grass, a bit of bridge there could be ready to meet you and end your race, and potentially the two that are alongside. We're watching Zafso now. I think they picked up a nice tow off Razin after giving them a tow earlier on their lap. Let's see what Zafso can do. Don't think the quickest lap there from Razin Shai. I think he can go quicker. It looked like his battery was flashing, as you can see now, as Zafso going through the final corner. Haven't quite managed the battery to perfection on the run down to the line, but Zafso, it's a good lap. It's up to P4, and that potentially will see him through into Q2. I think for Nogueira, though, with that 119.3, I think he'll be safe with that.
I think he'll be quite comfortable there in the Mercedes, no doubt about that. Here's Meraki, who has been putting in a fantastic stint as of late to try and find himself through. He, of course, missed round 11, and he didn't quite get what he wanted in round 12, but over the line he goes second fastest there with that on a 19.4. That should be enough to see him through, but there are still quick drivers around who could potentially jump up through. So you're looking at the drivers who are on the bubble: Matty D13, Blackmere, Dragonflies, Arsenault, and then Yours Sincerely would be the last driver. So 99 might be the cutoff when you consider that Yorpa's not set a lap yet. You've got Tiamat Marduk and Tom, and then that guy Vince probably is going to be one who wants to go through, along with Unstopped Rob. On with Tiamat Marduk as Nogueira pulls off with 420 and says, my work here is done. Tiamat Marduk, 19.2. He's got pace to burn.
Is that a little bit of a worrying sign, though, for Nogueira? Is there time left on the track? Is it developing as this session goes on? Does Nogueira need to be worried? Did he pull that bubble just a little bit too early? And we'll have to wait and see, of course. I do agree with you, though. I do think a 19.9 could be the cutoff, especially looking at the caliber of some of the drivers near the lower end of the field. And we'll see what those guys can do later on in the session. Who's currently still looking to set lap times? Arsenault still looking to try and break his way further up the field. Currently in a safe position at the moment, but as you say, drivers like that guy Vince, Unstopped Rob, Tom97, and Yorpa, all yet to set competitive lap times. These guys are going to be worried. But it is the final race of the season. There is nothing to fight for in terms of winning the championship, and a few of those guys could be wanting to start at the back and do some last to first challenges, which does, of course, open the door for the drivers who are usually down near the back of the field to put themselves near the front and get something out of this final race, as Arsenault comes into the box and is not going to set a lap time yet. With 3 minutes left on the clock, I think a lot of the drivers are getting back into the pits, new set of soft tyres, and go for that last push at the end.
Yeah, one last attack and one last throw of the dice here in Q1 to jump into Q2. Right now, that guy Vince going second fastest on a 19.3. That pretty much says that these drivers are looking around and thinking, what can we do? Now, the red flag is Yorpa. That lap won't count. This one will have to. And the way he staggered this game, I'm a little bit concerned for Yorpa right now. So he's got to find the best time he can. He'll be a little bit distracted on the brakes into the Retafilo as he absolutely batters the anti-cut curb there on the inside. But as he attacks on this one, he will have to watch everybody else around find their lap, and he's on an in lap.
Yeah, certainly. So Tom97 goes to 5th fastest right now as Tiamat Marduk retires from the session. Tom just getting the lap in, so I think he's going to be safe. But back to the bottom and back to Yorpa. He's got past a bit of traffic, but he's got a bit more coming up. It's a McLaren, it's Punju. Then he's got his teammate Skies. I think that guy Vince is still out there on track as well. That could potentially get in the way and distract him. As that guy Vince getting out of the way of a few other drivers. He's just further up the road now as we run down the hill underneath the old circuit. and then back up again as you hit the brakes down into Ascari. Cut the inside curve as Yorpa doesn't invalidate this time around. He's looking good so far for this lap. Now he's going to pick up a nice bit of slipstream off the McLaren from Punju, heading down into the Parabolica. Skysy's on the right-hand side. He'll be hoping to get a slipstream of his teammate to start the lap as well. The first lap time at the end of this qualifying session. What can Yorpa do? Can he get himself out? Can he get himself out that bottom 5?
Well, in theory, he's got one more after this as he crosses, and he doesn't go out. 16th on a 120.0. That is not what the doctor ordered, and he will be out in Q1, no doubts about it. So that means we got one name of the 5 that we know. So now for Dragonflies on an outlap, Blackmere on a lap, Matty D13 and Unstopped Rob, they are now the 4 who could make something happen. So you look around at who can find a little bit of something here, who's got what it takes to keep themselves out of trouble. We now find ourselves down under 45 seconds here with Punju, who will be one of those drivers looking to improve on his 19.8 out there at the moment, rushing through the small flick left of the Seraglio up and over the berm, and then looking to make that climb up to Ascari here. The left, then the right, and then the left again. You can see the copious amounts of visual damage there on the right-hand side pod that he's got as he now looks to try and charge on forward, hoping that this lap is going to be enough. That guy Vince will feel like he's done enough as he runs on through, and the checkered flag just a couple of moments away, out of the Curva Alboreto and over towards the line, as tight as you like. Punju goes 6th fastest with that attempt. Checkered flag comes out then in session, and how wide do you want? That's an invalidation of lap from Matty D13, who therefore will not improve on that time. Blackmere improves to 20.4 and stays in 18th position with that. So now it's down to Unstopped Rob and Dragonflies to find the opportunity. It's 1.7 seconds to leapfrog Yorpa and Arsenault on the bubble at this point. Here goes Unstopped Rob, P4 no doubt. He's going to find himself in Q2 without any trouble. So now Arsenault, who is on the outside looking in, sees that Dragonflies can't improve, and he just needs to find 0.2 of a second to leapfrog Yours Sincerely, who's going to need a flying lap here that's going to put him up, but he's down in the pit. So this is the difference. It's either him or Yours Sincerely. It's Yours Sincerely who goes up because Arsenault moves into 10th.
Yeah, great lap there from Arsenault when all the pressure was on right at the end. He managed to deliver. Disappointing there for Yorpa. It looks like he either derated or, because he invalidated on the first one, had to go for that second lap. Might have potentially just run out of fuel at the line, and that of course has cost him. A very strong competitive driver out in Q1, and a bit of a disappointment for him. Matty D was looking strong in his lap, and then going into that final corner, pushed too early. He got himself out wide. He invalidated right on the exit of the final corner, and that unfortunately is Matty D at the bottom of the field, down in 20th position. And he is going to be joining Blackmere, Dragonflies, Yorpa, and Yours Sincerely on the sidelines, watching everybody else for the next 30 minutes of this qualifying session.
Absolutely. There'll be another 15-minute session coming up, which will be Q2, and then 12 minutes then for Q3. And those 5 drivers who are out, who now have to make some work here towards the end of this session, will realise that now when it comes to the race, they'll be in the bottom 5 positions, depending on Tiamat Marduk, of course, with his 10-place grid penalty that he will stack up with. But a qualifying session, Hayden, that you look at on paper and go, well, there are definitely drivers who had some quick pace out there, and you look around at it, Tiamat Marduk's got something to prove. So too do both of the Mercedes out there, who feel like they've got some pace. But often you find with Q1, do you feel like some drivers seem to just be happy with just putting one lap together on the board, not necessarily happy to show all the pace they've got in the back pocket?
Yeah, certainly so. As long as they're happy enough to get into that second qualifying session, then it's going to save them a set of tyres that they're going to utilise later on in qualifying. And obviously that's going to be very, very important for those drivers that are fighting for that pole position. If they have brand new set of soft tyres, they can go for potentially 3 attempts in Q3 rather than 2 for the fresh softs, or even 1 if a driver just has the set that is available to them, of course, with the tyres that you get given if you get into Q3. So for those guys, they're going to be hoping that they can keep as many as possible.
They absolutely can. Of course, you are joining us here with the EA Sports Creator Series right now. You can follow us on all the socials up there to make sure everything sorts it out. And as well, you can follow us two on top as well for any action that comes along. Q2 gets itself underway, 15 minutes, and we'll take, once again, the bottom 5 out so that you will just have your top 10, which will be there for Q3 to decide who will be P1 through P10. And often this is a session where you get more shocks than you do in Q1, just because the margin gets finite. And for a number of years, Hayden, Q2 used to be the ultimate fast pace. If you want to get into Q3, you're going to have to put your best time on the board.
Yeah, certainly so. And we're going to be looking at a few drivers who are going to be wanting to get into Q2 for the first time, or Q3, sorry, for the first time this season. There's definitely a few names down there that aren't usual Q3 sitters. You're looking at the likes of Punju. You're looking at maybe Arsenault, who hasn't raced too many times in the F1 series. Dark Viper, very strong driver, just missed out on the championship in F2 yesterday by 2 points. Is somebody who's going to be wanting to try and put a name for themselves in the F1 series as well. We've got a few drivers making their way out on track. Mr. Dale, of course, hasn't had a great season so far this season. A few DNFs, a few issues for himself, but he'll be looking to end the season on a high in the Formula 1 cars and seeing what they can do in the Red Bull as well. But it will be Zafso who will get us going, as he's really aggressively heating up those front tyres.
Yeah, that is super aggressive then, and it's going to put quite a bit of wear into the tyre as well if he's not too careful. So Safsho has to be quite alert as he aggressively soared over on the steering wheel to try and get himself through, and he'll do it again. And right now, it's pretty much a case of, well, I'm going to go left and right, and it pretty much proves that you can have as many changes of direction as you want so long as you can keep it pointed in a straight line. Yeah,
certainly so. That's probably one of my favourite ways of watching a driver heat up tyres out on track. But let's get his first lap underway from Zafso, the Season 1 champion, and see what they can do. They've already got 1 point over this race weekend so far, the Intermediates Championship point, and let's see what they do down into Turn 1. Hard on the brakes for the 100-meter board. Really ride the inside of the first curb. Don't go over the second curb, though, because it will unsettle the car, and you're going to lose a lot of time. It's all about opening up that corner, getting early on the throttle, and driving down through this long right-hander down in towards the second chicane. As you can see, they're using overtake just a little bit around the lap, and you've got to time that to perfection, because you don't want to use too much battery too early on, otherwise it's going to cost you on the run down to the Parabolica and out of that corner down towards the line as well. Through Lesmo 1, nice and tight on the second later part of that apex, and then into Lesmo 2. How much does he cut on the inside? Doesn't cut too much, but also doesn't run out wide and invalidate his lap time. DRS open, used a little bit of overtake. Downhill now, pick up a faint slipstream from the car ahead as you now get yourself ready for the Ascari chicane. Brake at the 100-meter board, really attack the inside of the curb, cut as much as you can possibly get away with. Now again, try and pick up a little bit of slipstream from the cars ahead, but also hope and pray that they know you're coming and will get out of your way if need be. Braking now at the 50-meter board, chuck the car in to the Parabolica, back on the throttle, use that last bit of ERS that you have available in overtake mode, come down towards the line and finish your lap time. For Zafso, it's a 119.8, must be on a used set of tyres because we know that these drivers are capable of going faster.
Yeah, so that pretty much tells you Safsho's needs a bit more. 19.6 by Nogueira, not as quick as what he did in Q1. So there might be some drivers out there using a scrub set of tyres to try and save themselves potentially a brand new set when Q3 comes into view. M-Sky Z puts himself up on the top of the board with a 119.342. No doubts there that he's certainly looking to try and confirm his run, and he'll go flying straight across the chicane to make sure he invalidates his lap and gets back home a little bit quicker out there at the moment. There is Tom, who is hoping for his lap time to move him up maybe to third or fourth. That doesn't quite work, though. That's what you call a banker lap there, Hayden. A 129.8, and that is what we call not quite representative.
No, I'm not too sure what he's going to be banking on in this session, hoping that maybe a lot of drivers are going to crash out and not set a lap time with a 129 there. Way off the pace, 10 seconds. Must have made a mistake out there. It'll be interesting to ride on board and see if they're still pushing on this lap. They still have a good amount of battery, and they might be able to go for a fast one just to get another one in there, and it does look like they are pushing is Tom. So we'll come back to him and we'll see potentially what he can do on this lap later on. As F1 Scott is coming around the final corner now, what can he do? Can he put himself near the top? Can he move himself into a position that will be safe out of Q2 and into Q3? It's P7 at the moment, so 20.1, and that will not be safe. He'll definitely have to go again later on in the session.
So another attempt is going to have to be needed there. No Alex Gillen, I believe, here today either. So there's going to be a lot of focus on who will take third in the championship. Will Alex Gillen hold on, or will it be Tiamat Marduk or Meraki who will find themselves moving up to third position overall at the end of this season? Here is Tom once again. This should be either a flying lap or an in lap. It will be classified as a flyer out there, and that time was a 1:19.9, so able to move to sixth fastest. Just the 4 drivers to keep an eye out on who haven't set a lap yet, and you'd say 3 of the favourites today: Tom 97, Meraki and Tiamat Marduk, and then Dark Viper, the only other driver who hasn't set a time, who could maybe surprise here today. But we are definitely seeing a few difference makers out there, and that is not the healthiest place to be if you are Punju.
Yeah, getting it parked up on the inside of the Ascari, I believe that was, as we get back to him there. Yeah, just getting it all wrong down into Ascari. I thought he was potentially going to beach the car at one point. I'm not too sure if he's just trying to find his way back into the pit lane. He's invalidated as well, which is, of course, definitely not going to help him, as there's a Haas car going a little bit slowly. So just kind of work out with each other what they're doing at the moment. Don't know if it's F1 Scott. It is F1 Scott and Punju just sort of playing around with each other as well out on track. Maybe Punju wants a bit of those grid drop penalties like Tiamat Marduk's been picking up, or maybe these two are rivals and they're just trying to slow each other down coming into the pit lane. As we've got maybe Unstopped Rob. No, it's Nogueira coming into the pit lane behind these two as well, and we'll make sure that he gets himself into the pit. So who's on a lap at the moment? Tom is out there at the moment, but he's on an in lap. A decent lap, I think, from Tom in this qualifying session, because he had to go again. His tyres are going to be slightly even more older, but also as Meraki has now picked up a 5-place grid penalty for a collision with Dark Viper. Now, I don't know what's happened there between those two, but Dark Viper trying to get out of the way, and maybe Meraki coming into him as Dark Viper is trying to warm up his tyres, as he's really coming to a stop now. And I do not know what is happening to Dark Viper in this qualifying session. He's moving the car over to the inside and off the track and destroying that 100-meter board. And for Dark Viper, you can see there, he's actually completely missing his front wing in this qualifying session. So something has happened out there between Meraki and Dark Viper. Has Meraki got his front wing? Yes, he has. And he's going to come around the final corner now to start his flying lap.
Not ideal on an outlap there for Meraki, and especially when you're talking about bragging rights against Tiamat Marduk. They're both going to play with penalties then here today with their qualifying. Trying to spot the marker there. Oh, a massive kick of rotation through the first part of the Retafilo. Had to really fight to get the car back pointing in the right way. Now running through the Piassano curve, known as the Curva Grande, and over towards the Della Roggia, which is turns 4 and 5 on this track. Trying to find the braking zone, grabs a bit of grass on the entry, and is dealing with a car that's very much loose in terms of its rotation through, and that might just be Meraki style. Again, he just launches the car, going through the first of the 2 Lesmo corners, out to the second, and back to the Seraglio, where the contact was made between himself and Dark Viper, and now looking to charge back up the hill over towards Ascari. This needs to be wonderful right now by Meraki to hope that's there. Massive kick going through on the exit curve, which joins up with the junior circuit out here at Monza, and now over to the Curva Alboreto to hope that this lap time is going to find what is needed in all of its entirety. Now heading over towards the line. We'll see what it is by Meraki. It's 9th only on a 19.9. He's not safe.
That did not look comfortable from Meraki. I wonder whether he picked up some damage from the incident with Dark Viper. Now, we can't see anything on the front wing, so it doesn't look like it's front wing damage, but it was Dark Viper who broke his front wing. So unless Dark Viper went into the rear of Meraki, and Meraki's suffering with some rear wing damage, that's really unsettling, because that car did not look stable, especially on the rear end of the car as well. So maybe it's something that he's picked up. But he's not afraid to throw the car around on the way back to the pit lane. It looks like it's managing okay, but he'll be looking to get back into the pits with 5 minutes remaining to try and get back out there once again and set a decent lap time. Who else is out on track at the moment? Tom 97 will come around the final corner. Doesn't look like he's pushing too hard at the moment, so this could potentially be an in-lap. He's currently sitting in P5 right now, which I think could be right on the edge of the bubble, whether you get into Q3.
Well, Q3 is going to be an important bastion. Remember, Meraki will take a 5-place grid penalty no matter what happens over the course of these sessions. So if he falls back to 15th, he won't be best pleased with that as he hopes to try and go through. Here is Tom 97, slow and meandering on his what will be effectively another outlap as he looks to go around and find a little bit more out there in terms of time. This is Safsho in 7th position, one of the drivers you feel will need to find something. He was desperate for a bit of slipstream off of one of the Mercedes there running forward. I believe that would have been Nogueira who was getting out of the way, and now making that charge over towards the line. Safsho hoping for a couple tenths of a second. Well, he doesn't need a bit of them. He's got them all. He's got pole at the moment in this Q2 session.
That's a very strong lap from the Season 1 champion of Zafso. Not too sure whether that little bit of slipstream would have helped him, but it's looking very, very good there for the Alpine driver to get themselves into Q3. And I honestly think for Zafso, Nogueira, M-Skyz and Unstopped Rob, it could be comfortable. But we are going to see quicker lap times coming from a few other drivers, one of those potentially being Razin Shai, if he can just keep it on the circuit and stop invalidating out on track. Tom 97 also on track at the moment, but it doesn't look like they're on a flying lap. They're currently building up a bit of tyre temperature, maybe to try and go again in this qualifying session. Also out on track on an outlap is the McLaren. It's teammate Marduk, who's got 10 place penalty as well. But Razin Shai will come around the final corner and they'll make their way into the pit lane, and Tom 97 will follow them as well. So it's teammate Marduk in the McLaren. They're going to be our first driver now to set a lap time, and let's see what they can do in the remaining 3 minutes of this qualifying session.
Well, teammate Marduk will need a top 10 place, because if he finishes outside the top 10 in this qualifying session with the 2 penalties he got from the first session overall, he will fall backwards into into 20th position. No doubts about that. The best he will start today, no matter where he qualifies, is 11th position overall. That's why it's important he needs to find himself in Q3, because it will give him the opportunity to find a place that he wouldn't necessarily find otherwise. As he now makes that run out of the Biasino, 26.4 on the opening sector. A nice opening sector by him, absolutely there, but he does dip the tyre slightly on the exit of the Della Roggia, and that might put him in a bit of concern there over the course of his middle sector.
Yeah, certainly will upset the car just slightly and lose a small amount of time, but it's not about being the fastest in this part of qualifying. It's all about making sure you get into the top 10, and it is looking like a potential top 10 lap time. It's purple through sector 2 there. Nogueira looking comfortable. He thinks he's done enough. He's retired. He's moving on to Q3, and let's see if that will be enough with the 19.3. It's looking like it's so far. Teammate Marduk has 1 corner left to go. It's the final corner. Zafso also looks safe. Tom 97 really risking it in 7th position, but he thinks that 19.5 is good enough. Teammate Marduk to the line. Tops Tom 97. Goes to 5th fastest. Has Tom 97 risked a little bit too much? The next one on a lap is going to be F1 Scott, who looks like he's not on a fast one unless he just sort of caught the rear end, but his rear light is flashing and he's just saving battery. He looks like he's going to go again in the last few moments.
Hayden, it's 0.4 of a second. Razin Shai also feels he's safe. 0.4. Do you believe that at least 3 drivers can find 0.4 of a second?
I think so. You've got someone like Meraki down there who definitely has those capabilities. As teammate Marduk, whoa! Teammate Marduk into the barrier there. Not too sure what has happened in the background, but he's completely out of this session. And he's dropped down to 10th place. Remember, you've got to retire in the pit lane. Otherwise, you're going to be out of the qualifying session. Teammate Marduk will be in 10th. At the moment, but it is risky for him now to be dropped out by the other drivers. But like I was saying, Meraki is one of those drivers who can potentially top him, and there are some really quick drivers down there as well, like Dark Viper 2.
Well, there's certainly drivers there. Now, teammate Marduk's time still stands at the moment on a 19.4. It might be that he goes no better than 10th so to speak, as he can't necessarily now set any more qualifying times across any sessions that are there. Meraki will desperately need to find this time to move on forward. Remember, he's got third in the championship to think about against Tiamat Marduk, and he goes fast on a 19.2. That's perfect. Then in terms of what he was hoping for, that will move him up to exactly where he needs. Mr. Dale, you'd feel now, is on the bubble. Tom on the wrong side of Lady Luck with 13 seconds. Punju will now make his way over the line, and he goes 8th out there, which knocks Mr. Dale down. So now it's Tom 97 in trouble, but there's 0.3 of a second to keep in mind as they go through. M-Sky Z might feel he's safe, but here is Mr. Dale, hoping that his lap time is going to be good enough as the checkered flag is out here in Q2, and Mr. Dale goes third. Tom 97 is out in Q2. F1 Scott can't do enough. He's stuck down on a 19.7, and that's not good enough. Dark Viper, wrong side of Lady Luck, goes there 11th. Tom goes fastest and knocks Punju out of Q2, but Punju does technically still have one lap left, so now it's down to you, Arseno. Have you got enough to find 0.4 of a second to leapfrog up and gain over Rasin Chai, who's on the bubble? No, only 11th. That time goes with a 19.5, a dramatic Q2, which sees some big names on the wrong side, and the gamble doesn't pay off for Tom 97.
No, Tom 97, unfortunately, risked it, and it did look close. Like, he was down in 7th position. It didn't look safe. Punju currently on a lap at the moment, but he's just on an in-lap as he's making his way, becoming the fastest lawnmower in Italy that you have ever seen, mowing that grass and doing a very fine job of it as well. But yeah, I said it was a risk, and it did look risky. 7th position, calling that shot, and I just don't think it was worth it. Or maybe Tom 97 just went like a little bit too late and didn't have enough time to get back in and go for another run, so he had to unfortunately sit out of that one. But it is going to be Arseno, Punju, Dark Viper, Tom 97 and F1 Scott out of this session. Dark Viper would have been hoping the Dragonflies was able to make it through into Q2 with him, as maybe they could have worked together, get that slipstream, and maybe find themselves in that top 10. But Tiamat Marduk will scrape through into the top 10, but as he's retired, I think that means he is definitely going to be starting at the back of the field, as Meraki is currently ahead of him. Tom, though, he's been away for a bit, but he's laying down that gauntlet with a P1 in qualifying, a 19.1. He's back, and he's ready to show a bit of business.
I think Tiamat Marduk there pretty much said, you know what, I've got a time that I believe is good enough to move myself into Q3. I'm going to throw the car in the wall and end my qualifying session on the proviso that I know that I will guarantee myself with my 10 places worth of grid penalty that I will start from the back and try a last to first challenge. Their confirmation, Tiamat Marduk will not now be able to set a time. He will be confirmed as 10th position overall. 9 drivers now will take to Q3 to put those times, and Meraki will be looking at getting as high as possible in this field, because remember, he's got that 5-place grid penalty haul over from this Q2 session that he will have to serve no matter where he finishes. So the worst he can do is start, in theory, from 14th position, Hayden.
Yeah, certainly so. He'll be looking to get a good qualifying session here and maybe try and put himself at the front. That was a good gauntlet laid down in Q2 to put himself up into that part of qualifying and look very strong there from Meraki. So let's see what he can do in this qualifying. But of course, the big shock has to be Tom 97 out in Q2, just like Yorpa. You know, 2 drivers. Yorpa's Spanish. Tom 97 lives out in Spain, so we're also going to call him a Spaniard as well. But both getting it wrong here today. The other Spaniard, who's a champion, is not here to show all of the other guys how it's done, unfortunately. But we're only going to get 9 drivers in this Q3 session. And you've got to say a big congratulations, I feel like, to Mr. Dale, because he's been off the pace so far this season. He's really struggled to fight nearer the front, but to get himself into Q3, that's got to be a really big morale boost for him.
He hasn't scored points this season since the season opener, where he picked up 3 points. It has been a barren patch since, through non-starts and a love of the game, which has pretty much gone the wrong way for him. He's needed to try and find that love again, and this might be the way he does so with a good Q3 performance. 12 minutes then to find out who will take pole here today at Monza in this season finale race here of your EA Creator Series Season 7. It's your 13th round of 13. It's lucky for some, and it is a mixed bag on the board. As we look, we got drivers out there that have gone through, and the big thing that sticks out in my mind right now here, Hayden, is that we have only got one team that have been able to put both their cars into the top 10, and that, or actually, sorry, two teams. One is Alpine, the other one is, well, actually, three teams. I can't count.
I thought you were talking about Red Bull, because that was the first one that I noticed. And it's quite amazing for Red Bull, because they have had probably the most difficult season of any team so far. They have had two drivers that haven't been able to make a lot of the races, so have been missing out quite a few of them. But also Mr. Dale, who has had his struggles when he has been racing. That guy Vince has had very much a roller coaster of a season, had some really highs, but also had some really low lows. But we're looking to end the season on a high and try and get some really strong points. All on his own, though, Razin Shai. Infratic not joining us for this weekend, and Dark Viper is out in Q2. So Razin Shai will be our first driver to get a lap time on the board. As we can see, was warming up his tyres, and let's see what he can do on this lap.
Oh, locks up both fronts going into the opening section of track, which shows you just how aggressive he needs to be on the overtake mode through 4th gear, 5th gear, into 6th gear, pretty much riding with the rev limiter there, having the lights flashing at him saying, please shift a gear, 8th gear. Now searching for the marker board and dropping down at about 110 meters to try and flick that through the right and the left, or the left and the right there of the Della Roggia. Now throwing the car through the two Lesmo corners. The first one pretty much as you like. The second one, he hooks it up a dream and now needs that DRS, the drag reduction system, an extra 80 brake horsepower here around this Monza circuit to now charge up the hill over towards Ascari. And now he tries to tip in, and he just slightly misses the apex through the second part there of Ascari, and that could be the difference of the half a tenth here or there for Razin Shai as he looks to try and find the top 10 in the championship by the end of this evening's procedures, making his way around then the final corner of the Curva Alboreto and making that launch over towards the line. The benchmark set is a 20.1.
Yeah, strong lap there from Razin Shai. We've got Zafso coming through the final corner now. Can it be beaten? And it can. 20.1. Obviously, we've seen a lot faster lap times. So these are the drivers who did not have a set of tyres that they could hold on to in the qualifying session. M-Sky-Z moves up into second position. Unstopped Rob with an 18.8. Wow. What a lap to start Q3 with.
He's called Unstop Rob, but I think everyone's going to try and stop him at that point if he can put a time like that down on the board. We have not seen anybody today jump inside of 119.2. M-Sky-Z's 19 flat, just decimated by Unstop Rob's potential. Meraki right now out there on a flying lap, and he locks one up into the Curva Alboreto, the parabolic curve that it is, and hoping that his time is going to be somewhat representative by that. A 19.4 by him puts him third, net 8th.
Yeah, Meraki up into third position there. Nice lap. What about Nogueira? What can he do? He's always been very strong in qualifying. He'll come down to the final corner, come down to the line. One Mercedes is on the front at the moment. Will it be a front row for both of them? Not quite. It's M-Sky-Z that is splitting those two right now. Tom was strongest in Q2 and he's invalidated at the moment, so will not go quicker. It's just left up to Mr. Dale, who will come around the final corner, down to the line. What can he do in this Q3 session? It's up to 6th position. It's a 19.8, and that is looking good on a used set of soft tyres. He'll have a new set available to him at the end. He'll be looking to go even faster.
Well, they'll like that 5th and 6th over, of course, at Red Bull. That guy, Vince, 9th in the championship as things look. So he's someone who is looking to try and hold on to as many points as possible as this goes. Some drivers in the pits looking to then get them their final opportunities to really stack things together and say, you know what, this is going to be one of those qualifying sessions that pretty much goes through. And I tell you what is quite nice to see, a completely dry qualifying session here, Hayden, across all three out there, which is the true reflection of pace out there and not having to deal with the intermittent conditions.
Yeah, it's a chance for these sweats to show just exactly how fast they are and try and prove a point against one another for one last time in this season. show who's put in the most effort coming into this race weekend at Monza. And it's looking like Unstopped Rob is really showing that right now. An 18.8, that was absolutely incredible. I'm not too sure whether he picked up a little bit of slipstream from a few other drivers around him, but that's going to be a very difficult lap time to be as they make their way into the pit lane now. Nogueira, one of the first ones. It'll be looking like Zafso will be making his way in as well. And then, of course, Mr. Dell. No, Zafso going round again. Zafso going for another lap here in this qualifying session. I believe he was building up his tyre temps, but he's going round again. So let's see what he can do, or is this one the true in-lap this time around? A 20.0 is what Zafso has right now. Looking at his battery, completely depleted. So I think he's just finding the groove around this circuit. He's trying to get a little bit of data, trying to see how long this soft tyre can last, how many laps he can do on it, and maybe see what he can pick for the strategy in the race later on.
Yeah, of course, every single qualifying session, with the lack of practice sessions that these drivers have to deal with, this qualifying session houses itself as a place where drivers can get that information on what does every tyre do when you go out there and you push and you challenge. So that's going to be in the back of a couple drivers' mind over the course of these sessions right now, of how much information have I got to go through on top of what they've done in their own various races that they've gone through and their own championships that they've been running through on F1 24. But we expect Safsho to dive down towards the pits. 4 minutes and 40 seconds remaining. A big start gap's worth of difference between Unstopped Rob, M-Sky-Z and the rest of the field as it currently stands. But with that final lap, this is effectively the final gambit that we're going to be seeing right now here, Hayden. Everybody is going to try and throw one last lucky dice out there that's going to say, you know what, it's my session, I'm going to get the last pole of the season.
Yeah, just want to say a big round of applause to Zafso for filling that time for all of us, because usually for that little brief moment in between the first runs and the second runs in Q3, there's not a lot going on. There's not a car out on track for us to watch or talk about. So thank you very much, Zafso, for giving us something to watch and a lovely lap around Monza there. He's back into the pits, and of course with 3 minutes 50 remaining, plenty of time to get on a brand new set of soft tyres, go again for one last run and really try and see what they can do in this qualifying session. Only Jake Maraki, he's the only one in this Q3 session who has got any grid place penalties looming over his head. So for everybody else, it's going to be for positioners. Razin Shite getting himself through the Lesmos now, and then we're just going to watch on board on the run down to Ascari and really witness the weaving of the wheel to warm up those tyres. Is he going to do it for us now, down in towards the Ascari? He's got the DRS open. It's been a bit dangerous for him to do it with the DRS open, and I feel like, unfortunately, he's going to spoil the party here. He's not going to show us this aggressive warm-up.
No, I think he's pretty much zoned in at this point, thinking, right, what do I need to do? As he now just takes the traditional left to rights out there, trying to get the tyres into the operating window that he needs on the tyre carcasses at this point, and then go out and make sure that his laps are going to be the ones that he will remember. In this one, he's down on a 120.1, and he'll need just a 1/10 of a second to jump Safsho to be in 7th position. One car has yet to set a time, that is the Alpine of Tom, as things currently stand. But Rasin Chai now needing this lap time to be one that he can pluck from the heavens, as he attacked very heavily there through the second part of the Retafilo, and having to catch a little bit of air over that front left tyre.
Yeah, Razin Shai, one of the drivers that's been picking up a lot of invalidations on his lap so far in qualifying, has made it into Q3, so that means potentially why he is going for a lap so early with a lot of drivers still left in the pit lane. We'll have that clean air as well. We'll not have to worry about any traffic out on track 2, but we want to make sure that if he does invalidate, he'll probably have a little bit of extra fuel in to be prepared to go for an extra lap. Nice and tidy there through the 2 Lesmos as he gets the DRS open and now runs downhill in towards the Ascari chicane. We'll go full send through this corner. How much does he dare to cut on the inside? Can definitely cut a lot more, and runs it a little bit wide through the second part of Ascari. It's one corner left to go. The old parabolica for Razin Shai to see what he can do in this Q3 session and whether he can set himself up at the top.
Well, as he now flies through the final corner, the Curva Alboreto, he will now try and straight line as much as he can over towards the checkered flag, and fifth fastest he goes on a 1:19.441, 5,000 short of Meraki's Williams. They're in fourth position. Uber aggressive from Safsho, showing us all how to warm your tyres up, as now sitting with about a minute to go. Everyone is going to be looking for a little bit of something on everybody else. The drag reduction system might be the key to qualifying, and drivers may play DRS chicken Hayden heading towards the final minute.
Certainly so. Safso's not worrying about those games, though. He's getting on with this final lap, and he's going to try and put himself up at the front. Really aggressive tyre warming. Has he done the job? Has he got those tyres up to a good temperature? 30 seconds left on the clock. Are all the drivers going to make it? There is a Red Bull at the back that I think could be risking it here. With 30 seconds remaining, he's going to have to really push to get themselves back to the line. I don't know whether it's Mr. Dale or it is that guy Vince. It's not Mr. Dale, so it's that guy Vince who is going to be cutting it very fine on the rundown. We'll see whether he makes it later on, but we're going to go back on board with Zafso, who is going through the second chicane now. We'll go full send over there. It's looking good so far from Zafso on his lap as he sends it through the two Lesmo corners. Nice and tidy through those ones. And again, see how much he cuts on the inside. It's a little bit too wide. And yes, you're right. That guy Vince just about makes it, as does Razin Shai, who has now got a lovely bit of slipstream behind the Red Bull. And he'll see whether that'll be enough to maybe put him further up through the field. Zafso into the final sector now for the last few laps. Oh, and he's invalidated. So it's not going to be an improvement for Zafso, but it could be for his teammate Tom and maybe Meraki, who's right behind him.
Well, Meraki now is hoping that 0.6 of a second is there. He's got a 5-second grid place penalty, sorry, a 5-place grid place penalty. He is hoping that he can get at best 6th position on the grid with this time, knowing that Tiamat Marduk must start from the back. Meraki comes over towards the line. He goes second on a 19 flat and 1,000th in the back pocket. And Tom goes fourth fastest with his lap time. Unstopped Rob can't improve. M-Sky Z can't improve out there. So now it's Nagera, Racing Chai and Co. Mr. Dale goes fifth fastest on a 19.18 out there. No time improvement for Nagera. His lap is invalidated, so it's down to you, that guy Vince, if you can improve out there on time. Unstopped Rob's 18.8 looks nigh on unstoppable at this point. That guy Vince comes to the line in 7th. Unstopped Rob has your last pole of the season.
Congratulations, Unstopped Rob will be starting this race from the front of the grid, and alongside him is going to be M-Sky Z, who has really struggled with this game so far this season, but this time it was enough to get himself up into third place, which will promote him to second thanks to that penalty for Meraki. He'll be very thrilled with that. Tom, on his return, will be starting on the second row alongside Mr. Dale, who's going to be qualifying in or starting this race from 4th position thanks to that penalty to Meraki. And that is an incredible job there from Mr. Dale. He's going to be very, very happy with that one.
He certainly will. A big qualifying effort there from Mr. Dale, but it's Unstopped Rob who will have his pole position, and his day in the sun there is 18.8, clear of Meraki, who will start from 7th place on the grid, promoting M-Sky Z, Tom, Mr. Dale, Nagera, and that guy Vince up a place here in this qualifying session, with Racing Chai going from 8th and Safsho back there in 9th position on the grid for this race. It's topsy-turvy. There's a lot to keep in mind over 53 laps. It is also, Hayden, to keep in mind, the shortest race by time on the calendar. We're expecting just 75 minutes to conduct this race if all things stay green out there and no safety cars and virtual safety cars get called over the course of the race.
I would be very surprised, though, if we do not get a single safety car or virtual safety car. We saw a lot of collisions and a lot of incidents in qualifying alone. So if qualifying is anything to go by, I'm hoping for a bit of chaos. I'm hoping for a bit of carnage. And hopefully we can get just that in this race today. But eyes at the front, of course, for that little battle going on down in towards Turn 1. M-Sky Z, of course, will be wanting to get his second race win of the season. But Unstopped Rob is yet to get one. So he's going to be wanting to push that forward. You've got Mr. Dale up there too, who's going to be looking to prove a point. Yes, okay, I've got the most DNFs out of anybody in Creator Series history, but I can get myself a podium as well. And let's see if they can find themselves one of those for the first time ever.
Well, a podium would be a huge boon in the back pocket at the end of this season 7. It's a chance to have something to hold on and cradle and nurture into season 8, should that be for certain drivers out there. It's going to be an important race, especially considering the fact that these drivers all have not necessarily something to race for, but bragging rights is something you often talk about. We do have to talk about Team Marduk, Meraki and Alex Gillen. No Alex Gillen here today, but 19 points, the gap between those drivers out there, which means one thing and one thing only, Hayden. A win for Team Marduk or Meraki gives them third in the championship. Otherwise, it's Alex Gillen's.
Yep, so they're going to be really going for it in this race. Of course, they have got a little setback with both getting penalties in this race. I think Team Marduk's was more forced. He wants to start this race from the back of the grid. I think Meraki's was maybe an unfortunate incident between himself and Dark Viper. Of course, sadly, we do not have clip book for this week, so we're not able to find out exactly what has happened between those drivers. But we'll be looking to try and see later on, or hearing from those guys what maybe happened in that race. But yes, for both of them, they're going to be pushing for this win to try and beat one another and secure third position in this championship. And whilst the championship is not in contention anymore, El Riguri has taken that and also then taken the week off. There's still a lot of fights up and down the field, and those egos between drivers of just proving one another who is the best. They're certainly going to be trying to sort themselves out in this final race.
They certainly will. I will correct my math here. Second will get the job done by 1 championship point as well. So keep that in the mind. Top 2 for Meraki and Team Marduk will give them third in the championship right now, as we are moving ever closer to the start of this race. And 53 laps, which will get itself underway right now. MSkyZ with a little bit of wheel spin off at the start, but that's all right. Unstopped Rob will be unchallenged. Nagera going hard to the inside. Watch out to the Retafilo for troubles that find themselves in play. And you can definitely sense that drivers are there. There's a spin in the middle. One of the Aston Martins goes around, and it's a bottleneck there at turn 2, and a virtual safety car is called immediately. Arsenault finding himself pretty much backwards. 10 seconds for F1 Scott.
Yeah, F1 Scott picking up a 10-second time penalty there, with Tom97 getting caught up in that one too. Dark Viper as well. It's not going to be good. Team Marduk might have just got through unscathed with that one. I'm trying to see if they picked up any damage in this race. Unfortunately, for those guys, it is only going to be a virtual safety car, but turn 1, it's notorious for it. It's a lot of cars squeezed into a very tight, compact area, and it always causes an incident, and it was just guaranteed. And of course, with these creators, they've given us that straight away. Unstopped Rob, though, still able to lead from the front. MSkyZ stayed in second, but Mr. Dale promotes himself up onto that podium position, and we'll be hoping just to red flag it straight away. Just end the race now. I'll take the podium. Let's go home.
And there is a drive-through penalty for Arsenault for speeding under the virtual safety car. The green flag back out as it's race clear and resume right now. Unstopped Rob now is going to be looking behind, because MSkyZ is going to have this work. Mediums and hards for practically everybody out there at the moment. There goes MSkyZ to the outside, and he gets it done about 500 meters before the braking zone as they'll all launch in. Oh, big hit there for Nagera into the back of Tom, and he finds himself the wrong way round.
Yeah, Nagera just getting that all wrong. Just a big dive bomb up the inside. I think he was trying to overtake Meraki or that guy Vince, and just went a little bit too hard on the brakes, slammed into the rear of Mr. Dale, and I'll be wondering whether Mr. Dale managed to avoid any rear damage to his car. He's been plagued with issues so far this season, and he'll be hoping that he's got no damage on the back end of the car. And it looks like, as we watch it through the Lesbos, which is the most difficult part of this circuit in terms of having that aerodynamic performance, it looks like he's okay through there, and that says to us that he hasn't got any sustaining damages. There's a trade for the lead once again. Unstopped Rob and MSkyZ, the 2 French drivers looking to work together very early on in this race.
Yeah, they're trying to break away, build a gap. The top 3 on mediums, the next 5 out there on hard tyres, and then it's Nagera, Punju, Jorpa, yours sincerely, all on medium tyres. Team Marduk started on the hards. He's already up to 13th position. Meraki there in P6, hoping to get up to P2 in this one and stay ahead of Team Marduk. That will get him third in the championship. But Unstopped Rob, who's got 2 seconds this season, looking at MSkyZ, the fastest lap bonus point in the hands of that guy Vince. Now it's Jorpa who has that on a 22.3, but MSkyZ now in control, and that guy Vince getting through 1, but locking backing up heavily, not wanting to, and leaving the door open there as they go through. Look at him attack off the exit for the race lead there. Unstopped Rob takes that one back from M-Sky-Z.
Yeah, Mr. Dale got PTSD running down into that first corner. You could see how much gap, how much space he left his teammate on the inside of that corner because he was worried it was going to happen again. You do not want to risk the damage to the rear end of the car. It might have survived one, it might not survive two, but Mr. Dale still holding on to that third position, and now maybe the two Red Bulls can work together between themselves to catch up to that lead pack and try and break them up, because you do not want just those two working together. Mr. Dale already pulling over to the right-hand side. I think just opening that door for that guy Vince. The two up at the front, they're switching position once again, and it's M-Sky-Z who leads the way now.
Yeah, through Ascari, the right, now the left that leads back onto the opposite straight out on circuit. And now you're getting a sense of what these drivers are looking for. Chances to overtake left and right. Unstopped Rob with a tiny, weeny little lift to make sure that he's got enough run through the curve at Alboreto to attack along this long stretch. M-Sky-Z will not have the drag reduction system because he leads this field outright at the moment, and everybody is searching around. Yorpa through on the Guerra back there, and Yorpa setting the fastest lap. There goes one. Move to the inside. No room at the in for Mr. Dale to try and find that move, and it puts him side by side with his teammate. He just about tiptoes on through, and looking behind, Tom is going to have his eyes bigger than his belly as he tries to find a way through. Now diving through the Biasino curve. There might be a few pushes out there at the moment. Tom desperate to clear that guy Vince, but he's boxed himself into the most awkward situation possible.
This is not good for the two Red Bulls. They don't need to be fighting, they need to be working together to try and break up M-Sky-Z and break up Unstopped Rob. Instead, they're too busy scrapping with one another, and it's opening the door for Tom to find his way through. Meraki also sitting there in P6. He'll be licking his lips at this battle going on and trying to see if he can pick up any positions as Razin Shai looks to try and find his way through Ascari, and instead it's Meraki who goes up the inside of Tom, backs out of it, but that's Tom wide and into the gravel there, and I think he's going to lose out a lot of positions. He loses out to Yorpa, Zafso, and will lose out to Nagera as well. Round the outside, side by side into Ascari, never usually works, and it doesn't for Tom there, who drops down to 11th position.
Now this is key because Tom's in 11th. He's the back of the caboose, so to speak, and 2 seconds back is Tiamat Marduk, who's trying to join this leading group, and that's what he's hoping for. No gap, but he's got a gap right now, and that's the issue that he runs into. Mr. Dale again looking over hard to that inside, trying to scare. M-Sky-Z goes sailing down the inside, and he gets it done. And look at that front to rear. Everybody finding out that the concertina effect is one of the toughest things that you have to deal with here at Monza, especially when you're in a tight train like this. It's so easy to knock a front wing off.
Yep, and confirmation there, Razin Shai just looked to his front left end plate, is completely missing on that left side. He's had some torrid luck in terms of just picking up those small little taps with other drivers and breaking a little bit of front wing off, and it looks like it's happened again today. Luckily around Monza, it's a very high-speed circuit. You're running low aero anyway, so it's not going to affect you as much as maybe driving at a Hungary, as you could just see the Mercedes. I think that's what you were reacting to. Nagera just getting that rear out of shape on the exit of Lesmo 2.
Lucky there for Nagera. He very nearly lost the car, and you have to be careful around those two corners because you're needing downforce through the two Lesmo corners. They're the only medium-speed corners on the circuit here, Hayden, but you're trying to take as much wing off as possible for these overtaking moves.
Yeah, certainly so, and that's why it might not affect Razin Shai as much in this session because it will be running low aero. It will help in the straights, it will make him faster, but it will compromise him down there as it looks like Mr. Dale going to go wheel-to-wheel with M-Sky-Z. These two didn't like each other very early on in the start of the Creator Series, but now going to have to try and work together to get past Unstopped Rob. Mr. Dale not finding a way through right now, but just having a little look on the inside of Unstopped Rob, a small tap between the drivers. Unfortunately here for Mr. Dale, he's got two drivers going wheel to wheel in front of him, and there's just no gap for him. There's no space for him to try and get both of them, and he's just completely boxed in again and again. And this is what I mean, the two French drivers working together to guarantee themselves 1 and 2, and that's why Mr. Dale and that guy Vince need to start working with one another in the Red Bull team to try and disrupt these two.
Well, this is what you're really getting an understanding of at this moment. An old school circuit like Monza is not built to be wide as a racing track, and as such, you are going to have to be a little bit more patient as you find troubles out there. There's a yellow flag out there in Sector 2. It looks like it's Punju who's going backwards starkly at this moment, and there is no front wing end plate or there at all. So that's going to mean that he's had a bit of contact out there through Lesmo 2, and he's going to drop way down the order now, and that's going to be tough for the McLaren to swallow. Keep an eye out, though, on this race at Yorper at the moment right now, because he's been someone making moves right now, Hayden. He's been jumping up through. He got past Razinchai last time out. He's up 10, and he wants Meraki for 11.
Yeah, he's going to be pushing past. He's got past Meraki, and now he's going to be hunting down that guy Vince, Mr. Dale, Unstop Rob, and M Sky Z, who are all scrapping. They're 2 by 2. It's like Noah's Ark here around Monza, round the first corner. But again, still staying in position in terms of the 2 Red Bull drivers. But that guy Vince is bored of this. He wants to get a move on. He's fed up at sitting behind Mr. Dale, his teammate. He's like, let me have a go. I'll show you how it's done. I'm going to get myself into the lead now as Dale just gets on the grass. And round he goes. Just a little bit too wide, and that's going to be as 2 other drivers get caught up with each other. It's all kicking off on lap 7 of this Italian Grand Prix.
You're sincerely finding himself through in there, and that's a lot of drama going through. That might have even been Tom 97 who called himself up in a few troubles, sliding across at the Della Roggia. Everybody on lap 7, hold on, because that was a case of the floor is the racetrack and nobody wanted to jump on it at that point. Very much a case of grabbing a little bit of break on the grass. Look at what that's all done to this field. It is now allowed the top 9 to clear, and through goes Unstop Rob on that guy Vince getting it done. Yorper now up into 4th position, and this very much becomes a race of 9 up at the front compared to everyone else. We take a look on board with Yorper's perspective now as it's side by side. There goes Unstop Rob to the lead. Yorper's trying to find a way through. They're not. They're 3 wide in towards turn 1. Unstop Rob takes the race lead away, and M Sky Z desperately fighting around with that guy Vince as now the kick sabers go together.
That guy Vince made a great call to get past Mr. Dale at that point, especially with the mistake that Mr. Dale made, but now he's found himself in the 2nd position and fighting and hunting down that lead as well as M Sky Z and Yorper. It's actually Yorper in the kick salver just trying to have a look there on that guy Vince. Can't quite get it done. It was a little bit wiry out of that chicane there, and has settled himself down into 3rd position. Meanwhile, behind him, we've got Meraki and M Sky Z going wheel to wheel. M Sky Z was battling with Unstop Rob at the front of this pack and has now found himself down in 5th position. That just shows how close it is between these drivers, but I love to see it. I was worried that we were going to get drivers just sitting in DRS trains, working together and just waiting till the end of the race. Instead, they've thrown all of that out the window and they are scrapping hard for every single lap and every single position. And I think for both of us and everybody at home, we love to see this.
I think this is what we call a race, and we are having one here at Monza, heading towards lap 9 of 53. To bring it back a little bit, though, here, Hayden, we got to talk strategy, because those on the hard tyres that can stay in this front group, would you feel like they've got an advantage by the sheer fact that they can decide to run longer, and then they'll have the tyre life advantage at the end of this race as that guy Vince on the hards takes the race lead?
Yeah, certainly so, and showing that the hard tyres are not a bad tyre around this circuit. We've got a leader on the hard tyres. They've not dropped away. Meraki's also in that fight for the front. Nogueira has just overtaken Razin Shai, but remember, Razin has got that little bit of front wing damage. Tom dropped off from that mistake as well. So I think those drivers on the hard tyres, yes, they're going to have the advantage, but it's very, very important for that guy Vince, once those medium tyres do decide to come into the box, that he works together with Meraki and they try to build a bit of a gap instead of fighting with one another, lose all that time, and then when they're trying to catch up through the field, they've got a lot of time to make up.
They've got a lot to do, potentially. The gap is 3 seconds now between Rasin Chai and Tiamat Mada, because Rasin Chai loses the place to Safjo. Remember, Rasin Chai still has the damage to the front wing, which is definitely going to be causing him a little bit of havoc there on the left-hand side, right-hand side of the screen as you look down the hill. This is the next groups that you see right now. Tom 97 getting through on Matty D13 for a position, and that splinter's going to hurt Tom 97. He wants to try and jump up through. His 2nd place is securing the championship, no doubts about it, but right now he's got work to do as Yorper will look at Unstop Rob, will look at that guy Vince, will look back down the inside on the run down to the Retafilo, and we'll see that the race lead is once again in a Frenchman's hands right now, and crucially, it is in Unstopped Rob's right now, making the charge out. That guy Vince not willing to let this one go.
No, but also not fighting it tooth and nail through every corner, just realizing, okay, these guys are a little bit quicker than me at this stage of the race. They've got the DRS, they've got a little bit more battery. I can just let them have that inside line, sit behind them. I've got the hard tyres. I'm going to look better later on in the race. I can work together with Iraqi as long as I stay with these front runners. And that's the important thing, really. If you're on the hard tyres, stay with the guys up at the front that are on the mediums, and then utilize that benefit later on in the race. And that guy Vince is doing a brilliant job so far and is looking like a very strong contender for a race win in about 43 laps time.
Yeah, and there's got a long way to go yet, and you can say that that guy Vince is definitely in the wheelhouse at the moment, and there are a number of drivers who are trying to put that into perspective. Mr. Dale now starting to form a little bit of a blockade at the moment as he looks behind at Yours Sincerely and Dark Viper and Blackmere, who's had a pretty good run so far in the Williams, up to 14th position. Tom 97's jumped back onto the rear of this group as they run through the Curva Alboreto, but now that guy Vince looking for an angle here to try and attack. Everybody trying to piggyback to try and find this move. Yorpa, who started outside the top 10 here today, is going to fly around the outside and moves himself into the race lead. Wonderfully done, but look at how congested it is on the exit for these 9.
Yeah, and this is actually really helping someone like Razin Shai, who has that front wing damage, because these guys scrapping so hard and going 3 wide down into turn 1, and there's a little tap there between the Red Bull and the Mercedes. No love lost between those two teams, and it looks like they've all managed to sort themselves out. But them being so close together, fighting with one another, keeps this pack close together, and that allows Razin Shai with that front wing damage just to stay on the back of them and be towed along, piggybacked with this front pack. As wide, really wide goes Yorpa on the exit of that corner, but still manages to keep his foot in and hold position. But that guy Vince is going to have a much better exit, and he's going to look to close down into the Ascari chicane, but it's never wise to go side by side down into Ascari, and he thinks better of that as well. As Tom 97 moves his way up past Blackmere, and we'll be looking at Mr. Dale, who's lost out 2 positions to Dark Viper and Yours Sincerely. Meanwhile, for Team at Marduk, just sort of in no man's land at the moment is Team at Marduk. He's got no one really in front of him and no one behind him that he can kind of slipstream off, as Yours Sincerely just losing a lot of positions and a lot of time down that run to the final corner. But back to the front, and they're going to go 3 wide, I bet again, down to this first corner.
Well, to the inside goes that guy Vince, to the outside goes Unstopped Rob. They absolutely swarm Yorpa into the Retafilo. That guy Vince holds station there. M-Skyzy and Nagera now side by side. Nagera, what a recovery he's been having after his dramas on the opening laps of the race. How he fell back 4 or 5 positions and he's worked his way back up. So brilliant stuff from Nagera now to try and put himself in the wheelhouse, and keep an eye on the quiet drivers, which will be the 2 Alpines out there. Getting a little bit darker out there around the circuit.
It's raining.
So is there? Oh, it's raining.
Yeah, rain on the horizon. So those guys on the medium tyres probably actually the better strategy, because rain is on the way and it's currently chucking it down right now. So how long is it going to be until we get to the full, or to the intermediate tyres? And someone who needs to get a move on, M-Skyzy, and he is indeed. He's getting past Nagera because he needs to be ahead of Yorpa to make sure he doesn't have to double stack or go an extra lap in these torrential conditions. Same for Tom and Zafso as well. They're going to be looking to try and scrap really hard with their teammates now at this stage of the race. But who's going to be the first to pull that plug? As wide goes Tom, but he keeps it on the circuit.
Well, this is where drivers start thinking about their alliances and thinking, what more do I need? Yorpa and M-Skyzy now together on the road. And now with that guy Vince in front, Unstopped Rob. Nagera is another driver who's hoping he doesn't have to go an extra lap. Unstopped Rob to the inside at the Retafilo as they dance through the intermittent conditions. That guy Vince holds on for the moment. Meraki will feel that he's quite safe at the moment as he now tries to pivot to the outside. They'll be keeping an eye out on what they can do. They've still got the DRS, remember. They haven't shut it off just yet. But for the moment, Unstopped Rob happy to fall back into line as they now dance about the Italian reigns.
Into the box comes Punju, Matty D, and it looks like Blackmere. They have decided to take that risk. Mr. Dale as well, and they're onto the intermediate tyres, as is Zafso as well. I missed that from the Alpine driver. So realistically, Zafso's our guinea pig in this race. We're going to be watching those lap times and seeing whether they are quicker compared to the dry tyres. When is the time to come into the box? That guy Vince and Unstop Rob working out between each other who's going to be in front, but these two, these are the ones to sort out the position. Yorpa needs to get past Meraki just to have that little bit of safety. M-Sky Z needs to get past his teammate to make sure that he doesn't box behind them. Around the final corner they go. Will they come into the box on this lap?
Well, you've got to feel that some drivers are, and there goes Tom sliding down the inside. Who's in? 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow, it's Yorpa who chooses to stay out. Being in front, he wants an extra lap on his mediums. That's a big call at this stage of the race as everyone jumps in. Rasin Chai stays out, Nagera stays out as Nagera dives through now on the inside. Where is this driver, Safsho, going to come out by comparison of all those? 3-second time penalty for Punju for corner cuts as he now goes through. Now, how many places did you gain by being on the wet weather tyres a lap early, coming out of the pits? What an inspired call by Safsho. He might get the lot.
Yep, that's a great call from Zafso. He's moved up into right behind Unstop Rob, who was the leader of the train. So you've got to say, for drivers like Yorpa, Razin Shai, Nagera, and Tom 97, they've made the wrong call because they're going to be losing a heap of time around this circuit right now as it just continues to get worse and worse and benefit those intermediate tyres in this race. But one thing they're going to be trying to count on, as Blackmere has left this session, he'll be looking to try and get in as soon as possible. But one thing they'll be trying to hope for right now is somebody makes a mistake in these changing conditions and brings out the safety car, which benefits these guys. But it doesn't look like it's going to happen. They're going to have to work their way into the pit lane. And unfortunately, they are going to lose out positions, I feel like, but I think it could be quite close because DRS has only just been disabled, which means this has definitely got to be that cutoff zone.
So Blackmere, crucially, he's still going to be in this race, but he's going to have the AI drive for him until he gets back in with the way that he has left into the pits. No doubts now. Yorpa, Razin Chai, Nagera, expect Tom 97 and Dragonflies also to follow down into the pits as well, which will cycle the field through the pits at this moment. So they'll all have come in, made those stops, and he will look around and see that it is Safsho who will lead this field with that guy Vince and Unstopped Rob behind him as the main challengers. Now overtaking becomes slightly more difficult because you need to rely just on the slipstream to make the passes. Still possible as that guy Vince proves, in fact, Dragonflies has stayed out. So he takes a lap lead in this one, and look at how it cost Yorpa. He was first pretty much there as he went through, and look at how much time he's lost. He's now back to 8th place.
Look at Team Marduk as well, has managed to get that gap down to 2 seconds thanks to staying out a little bit longer. And Team Marduk, in one of the earlier races in the season when there was a bit of wet weather, was actually very, very strong in those conditions. So he'll be looking to try and benefit that and move his way back up the field as we've got, Dragonflies, who's on these dry tyres. He's going to really become a cork in the bottle here. And let's see what happens between these guys as they're all going to make their way past the Aston Martin driver now, who's found himself off the circuit, and it's not making too much of a nuisance for himself, but those guys are going to be a little bit frustrated as he breaks up the train. Obviously, DRS is not enabled, so it doesn't allow you to be, okay, I'm just a second off, I can use the DRS to get back close up to a couple of attempts. No, it's going to really cost you as he runs very, very deep into the gravel trap and will rejoin at the Ascari chicane. And what can Team at Marduk do? It's about 1.42 seconds still off the pace of the other drivers. And luckily for Dragonflies, I think it's going to be okay. Unless, of course, it's going to be a very short stint of wet weather. And we're going to be going back to dries very quickly. But I think, like, for Dragonflies, he's just losing way too much time. He's surely going to have to come into the box on this lap.
Ice rink. It's an absolute... He's staying out! He believes there's not going to be much more rain than this, so he's going to stay out again on the dry tyres and be a nuisance for everybody in this one. Still some great battling here as Safsho tries to put himself in. Tom, his teammate, jumps up on the scene with Unstopped Rob. They've given that guy Vince 1.2 seconds here at the front. They are starting to battle amongst themselves. Tom finds himself a way through on his teammate, and Unstopped Rob just about holds it together here on lap 16 of 53. He manages to hold that second, but look at the way he took the De La Rogia. He brings that gap down by 0.2 to 1 second.
The amount this race has changed today has been incredible. Very much at the start, it looked like Red Bull were the team that were going to be strongest in this race. They had Mr. Dale and that guy Vince third and fourth, looking very good. Then a mistake from Dale takes him fully out of that. Then it looked like the Kick Saubers. You had Jorpa, you had M-Sky-Z battling up at the front. Now they've dropped off a little bit, and now look at the Alpines, third and fourth, working together, and Tom looking very, very strong in these mixed conditions. Let's see what he can do. They closed up slightly again to that guy Vince, 7/10 of a second. That guy Vince never won a race. Unstopped Rob never won a race. And then they've got 2 champions hot on their heels, 3 champions hot on their heels, trying to take away those positions from them.
Yeah, so there's definitely a case of title town there behind, and the name going up in lights for a race victory for Vince and for Rob. They'll be hoping that they get exactly what they want. It is, though, 7 clear at the front. That is pretty much as wide as you can take it, Dragonflies. Surely some common sense is going to have to prevail. No, there is no common sense. He is purely on the mean train.
No, he's doing the dry tyre challenge, or maybe Aston Martin only had enough for Arseno in this race, and he took the only intermediate tyres that team has. But he's doing a fine job. He's still survived. Never mind, he's cut the corner. But he's down in 17th. What's Punju going to do? When's he going to arrive onto the scene? He's close. Not close enough. It shouldn't be an issue for him. So back at the front, let's look at what's going on here. It's that guy Vince who leads the way. Unstopped Rob in second. Tom in third with Zafso in fourth. Then it's Meraki. Took that grid penalty earlier on, but is back into fifth. But one of the biggest risers through the field, Jorpa and Tiamat Mardu. Jorpa getting another one on Meraki there, moving up into P5 with Tiamat Mardu closing and closing and closing on this gap, but it is still remaining a 1.8 second gap. We'll be hoping for something to occur in this race just to pull him a little bit closer.
Well, Blackmere's desperate to try and get in, but he can't get an invite for love nor money at this moment in time to try and continue his race. And I tell you what, his AI is doing a good job in 13th position to keep him out there and going. But that guy, Vince, at the moment is hoping that he is going to hold on. There is Tiamat Marduk, and he's doing a great job out there. Now, there is word out there that he's on a dry setup at the moment, but it's not doing him too many bad favours at this moment. He's clawing that gap down to 1.7 to M-Sky-Z, and if he can get within a range, he can use that as effectively a tow rope to try and get onto that leading group. That's going to be what's huge for him as you look out behind as the couple of Ferraris now find themselves together. It is, of course, Dark Viper ahead of Rasen Shai.
Yeah, Rasen Shai, when he came into the pit, it looks like he did change the front wings. It does have downforce, which, of course, you're going to really want at this stage of the race. Dragonflies finally comes into the pits, but has picked up a 10-second time penalty for speeding into the pit lane. This race has gone from bad to worse, and he's taking a gamble and going to full wets. Now, I'm not too sure that's going to work out. Yes, the rain looks like it's getting heavier, but the full wet tyres don't really work on the F1 24 game. They're pretty much the same lap time as the intermediates. It only really works out for you if you're maybe starting the race in torrential conditions, because it allows them to get the temperature up a lot quicker than the intermediates. But other than that, the intermediates are superior in the wet conditions pretty much throughout the whole wet conditions. So, but we'll see what happens to Dragonflies. Maybe he'll prove me wrong and he'll find his way back up to the top. But he's found his Aston Martin teammate, who's only a few seconds off of him now. And Aston Martin can have their own little race at the back of the grid. Meanwhile, up at the front, it's Unstopped Rob, who's hunting down that guy Vince.
Yep, and looking for that way through to try and get that pass. He has unlocked it through that final corner, the curve at Alvaretto, and on to this 19th lap of the race. Unstopped Rob, looking very much like his namesake, unstoppable on the brakes on the inside. That guy Vince fights him every single stage of the way. What happened the last time a Red Bull and a Mercedes fought through that section of road about 3 years ago? They're a lot cleaner than them, but almost in the grass in the background goes Jorpa, but that is pretty much perfect. Now look out, because here comes Tom, hoping that he's got an angle down to the inside into the Della Roggia to get this move sorted. And again the inside for that guy Vince, who's got the widest car this side of Milan, and around the outside Tom gets the place and up into second position. The touch back on the wet tyres for just a brief moment, Hayden. Could you maybe read it as the wet tyres are effectively a wet weather hard compared to the intermediates or wet weather soft?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say that's probably the best way to explain them. But I'd say more like a wet weather soft, because they're a lot easier to heat up in those full wet weather conditions compared to the intermediates that will be slower to get up to temperature. So it might benefit very early days for Dragonflies, but in terms of matching lap time to the intermediates, I feel like he's either just going to be matching or be slightly slower, unfortunately, there for Dragonflies. But he seems to be doing his own race, as we saw with driving on the dry tyres for as long as he did. But Tom now moves up into second position, finally gains a place in this race. But Yorpa, at the same time, got past Zafso and then followed through, getting past that guy Vince as well. So he'll be looking to try and take this race win, climbing 13 positions so far. We'll be looking for that 14th. No, decides to back out of that one and sit behind Tom for the time being.
Yep, it's pretty much there, as there's Safsho and Meraki going at it there. Meraki gets the drive off the exit now. They can't afford to drop this train right now, and also dropped off of this train is M-Sky Z. He's now back with Tiamat Marduk. M-Sky Z is really struggling in the rain here, Hayden.
Yeah, you've got to really say that he had a very, as Blackbeard rejoins the lobby, but his car is down in 15th position. And it looked like there was somebody off in the background, wasn't it? That is
Blackmere.
That wasn't Blackmere off the track, was it? No, it is Blackmere. I went to the wrong person. It is Blackmere. So just as he joined, must have joined as they were going through the first chicane, and it just shot himself off into the gravel trap. I'm not too sure if he got any damage there. Looking at that front wing, it looks clean on the front. So Blackmere, unfortunately, his day is going from bad to worse, and he's down in 17th position. But who knows, maybe a safety car can come out and save a lot of those drivers who hasn't gone their way so far today. But Team at Marduk, on the back of M-Sky Z, 2 championship contenders last season, came down to the final corner between those two. Now they're scrapping for 7th position as Zafso and Meraki go wheel to wheel. Zafso struggling in those wet conditions as well, but yeah, you're right. Sky Z, I feel like, definitely had a dry setup on the car, was very strong in the early phase, but in this wet phase, definitely dropping off, and now succumbing to Team at Marduk, who's going to be going on the attack down into turn 1.
Yep, he is on the rampage, and there goes Tom, straight on through on Unstopped Rob. Takes the race lead away on lap 21. It is 4 cars clear at the front, and they are starting to form into a group of 4 behind, with Safsho Meraki, M-Sky Z, and Tiamat Marduk pulling through a full sense of will back into this race, getting another place here as he now looks to try and get into that second group. 8th place for him right now, up 12 spots. And I tell you what, this is a last to first challenge where he needed this rain, otherwise he was stranded.
Yep, and maybe he was just waiting for it. Maybe he obviously knew the rain was on the way, was like, okay, the start hasn't gone the way that we wanted to. We lost a little bit of time getting past a few drivers, but I've got a wet setup on the car. We're going to be absolutely flying in the midsection of this race to catch back up to the lead pack. And he's there. You know, he's within that gap. The biggest gap really out on track is Zafso. 2 seconds to that guy Vince now. And unfortunately, it looks like it's fallen apart. Obviously, Zafso went 1-2 laps later than a few of the other drivers. Like Yorpa, for example, was 2 laps later than Zafso. So it shouldn't give too much tyre degradation, but Zafso just struggling a little bit to manage in these wetter conditions now in this race.
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very tall ordeal, but look at now how it looks at the front, because Unstopped Rob's got the launch on Tom, and suddenly Yorpa tries to thread the needle down the inside. Tom sees everybody fly by. Yorpa trying to go with a third to first out of the heavens, and he gets it. Little bit of tyre to tyre. Oh, they're getting close. Right now, heading towards the Biasino, and Yorpa gets the job done and moves himself into the race lead on lap 22. Excellent car control from Yorpa. He now leads and has all of those 3 behind Rob, Tom, and Vince as he slides through the Della Roggia.
That so very nearly ended in tears between all 3 of those drivers. Rob was squeezed to the outside of the circuit. Tom was losing the rear end as he was trying to find the grip and the traction out of turn 1. They could have all 3 come together, but with the incredible professional drivers that they are, they managed to find their way through that very tight section through turn 1 and 2, and they are Yorpa in the lead, Unstopped Rob second, and Tom in third. And that guy Vince is not out of this fight yet. He's still holding on to the back of this train and looking strong for potentially a first win in the Creator Series, but he's got 3 drivers who are in his way from stopping him from getting that at the moment.
Well, 3 drivers can say a lot, and there goes one hook potentially trying to go around the outside of the Curva Alboreto to get the move done. Tom can't quite manage it there. That guy Vince moves through and gets his move sorted, but that allows the two up in front to just deal with themselves for a moment in Yorpa and Unstop Rob, and we are soon heading upon the halfway stage of what has been a race defined in two parts here at this point, or two quarters, so to speak. The bit before rain and the bit afterwards. Tiamat Marduk through on M-Sky-Z. He now finds himself P7 as they now look to try and run a little bit forward, and they look behind, and Nagera has jumped onto the back of this group. So Safsho has broken clear right now of them with Meraki, and then it's Tiamat Marduk who was realising he was losing time here with M-Sky-Z, saving a bit of fuel, and went, oh, hang on a minute, M-Sky-Z, you're not pulling your weight here. We're going to let these two go down the road.
Yeah, I think it won't be long before Tiamat Marduk as well catches up to Zafso. We've noticed that Zafso has been struggling in these wet conditions. Same with Meraki. I don't think they quite have the pace of that top four pack. And it won't be long, I don't think, until Tiamat Marduk gets onto the back of Zafso and Meraki. But look at Nagera now, making his way past M-Sky-Z, down in towards the Ascari chicane. Always difficult to go around the outside here. Sky-Z just keeps his nose in, which makes it even more difficult for Nagera. One of those golden rules between drivers, unless it's the last lap of the race, you never go side by side through Ascari, just because it loses you heaps of time. And M-Sky-Z just dangling his nose on the inside of the corner, costs Nagera a little bit of time and nearly drops out of a second of Tiamat Marduk. Of course, there is no DRS, but you are going to get that benefit of a bit of slipstream down these long straights just to keep you tight and keep you close. And now Tiamat Marduk 1.2 seconds behind Zafso and hunting them down further in the field, as Zafso sitting behind Meraki for the time being. These two very similar on pace, but don't have the pace to catch up to the front runners.
Now remember, Meraki and Tiamat Marduk are tied on points in the championship. This is currently a battle for fourth position overall. Whoever finishes higher than the other driver is going to take that fourth place away. So there's a reason why Meraki would like to try and push on a little bit more and keep himself out of the realms of possibility. Look at this going back here with Punjav out there with Matty D13, and you're sincerely watching on. Oh, you can't get much closer than that, boys. Running through at the Biasino, heading over towards the Della Roggia. It looks like Punjav has got what he wants out there at the moment, and just about gets it sorted there. Matty D13, sit back down.
Yeah, great move there from Punju, side by side through the first chicane. Lovely stuff between these two, just showing that there is a lot of respect between drivers up and down the field, as yours sincerely just gets a little bit wrong there into the second Lesmo and loses out. But maybe Matty D now can go on the charge of Punju down into Ascari. We said don't go side by side into here. It looks like Matty D playing the smart move, which is a rarity for Matty D to make a smart move there. But back at the front, there's a few gaps there. 1 second between Yorpa and Unstop Rob. That guy Vince also just over a second behind Unstop Rob as well, as Tom just staying close to those guys. And Tiamat Marduk now slowly dropping it off or keeping that gap for Zafso, unable to catch up. And one thing I don't know if you've noticed as well, does it look like it's drying up? Does it look like the rain is slowing down out on track? And look like potentially it's literally just stopped?
Yeah, they've just clicked through the opening sector, and it's sector by sector systems that you see the rain that it goes through. So the rain has just stopped, and now when we saw it was a case of dry to wet, it's now a case of wet to dry, and that might be where we see advantages and disadvantages come into play. Building a gap now, like Unstop Rob and Yorpa have had, it puts that guy Vince and Tom in a little bit of a catch-22 as to when they want to come in and make that pit stop. It makes Dragonfly's life very difficult out there on the wet tyres, because he'll know that he has to pit a little bit earlier than everybody else for a dry tyre out there. But that was what we call a brief 10-lap shower.
Yeah, certainly was, and Dragonfly is going straight back onto the dry tyres. He loved them so much earlier on. I'm sure he'll be happy to be our guinea pig today to decide whether that is. Up at the front though, Yorpa, will he be coming into the box? No. Decides to go for one more lap. Now you need to wait for the DRS to really be enabled. That's a great indication to tell you when it is time to go onto the dry tyres, as Matty D picks up a 3-second time penalty for repeated track limit warnings. And he's still in that battle with Punju and Yours Sincerely. Yours Sincerely having a look up the inside, down to the final corner, but doesn't put his nose up the inside. side there. As further up the field, we got Raz and Shy and Dark Viper switching positions, maybe suggesting that Raz and Shy has the drier setup. Dark Viper was leading in those wets as Matty D comes into the pits and gets an extra penalty to his name, this time 10 seconds.
Well, let's make that 13 seconds then in the lane after all of that drama that's gone on through. But right now, as things stand, Yorpa looking behind, Unstopped Rob, hoping that he's going to find that way through. Yorpa, who started 16th on the grid here today at Monza, leading this race. The halfway stage as they run through into Ascari and now start thinking about whether it is time, whether they've got enough confidence underneath them to go onto a drier tyre, with both of the Haas drivers and Dragonflies making stops. Arseno is also going to come in and get his tyres changed. But who's going to be the first of the leaders to really prod and poke? That guy Vince at 1.2 seconds might start thinking about whether that's good. In comes your race leader. Yorpa is into the pits. He takes the speed limiter out, so nobody knows how quick they can go in. 1, 2, 3 and 4 all diving in. Safsho, Tiamat Marduk and Nagera stay out.
Yeah, it made sense from Zafso because otherwise he would have had to double stack behind Tom. Nagera staying out again makes sense because of Unstopped Rob, but for Tiamat Marduk, he thinks that it is better to go for that extra lap. With that DRS enabled right now, it might have been the perfect lap to box when Yorpa, Unstopped Rob, and that guy Vince have come into it. We'll find out what happens with this lot when they go around the track. As Matty D is retired, he's out, and it's a safety car. So scrap all of that. It's worked out fantastically for Zafso, Nagera, and the rest of them who have stayed out. And let's see what happened to Matty D if we can find his car out on track. Into Ascari. Yeah, the exit. You can just see a tyre on the exit to the right-hand side, and Matty D will no longer be taking part in the rest of this race. But that's worked out perfectly for the top four. But Tiamat Marduk looking like he could potentially fight for a win now.
Well, not only can he do that, he can also fight for third in the championship. He might be able to snipe that away from Alex Gillen, his old mate, as he now starts thinking about what he needs to do. So safety car comes out at a crucial point, just as the track had just switched over from wet to dry, and suddenly the field changes again. Now, the key here to this pit stop is going to be how much time you can save, because all of those drivers behind are going to be stuck on Delta because we're under yellow conditions right now. We've got a neutralized track at this point, and it becomes a scramble of how quick the pit crews go. Safsho, Nagera, Tiamat Marduk, and Racing Chai hoping for some very nice cheap pit stops to go through to gain a huge advantage on those that are around. We take a look here, Hayden, as in comes Safsho to make that stop. This is a big one for the likes of Yorpa, for example, who is looking for a big opportunity here to jump those drivers who have made those stops as they now look to exit the lane.
Yeah, Yorpa looks like he is going to get the jump, so Zafso will lose out a few positions still, but will slot himself into place just behind that guy Vince, actually ahead of his teammate Tom, who benefited from that. And if you look to the gaps that were before that pit stop, you've got to say that Zafso has definitely benefited. He was about 2, 3, 4 seconds behind that front four leading pack, and now he's found himself right within the mix. This really also worked out for Arseno, who has managed to unlap himself and now will be able to catch back up. Also look for Dragonflies as they all move off the circuit. The rule that we have in Creator Series that if you are a lap down, the drivers should move off the circuit to allow you to unlap yourself so you can get back in the race. So hopefully these guys start to get on with that. And first one, I believe, is going to be Tom or Zafso, who'll be looking to move off the track and hopefully let Dragonflies through. Because the last thing you really want is a lap driver getting in the mix on the restart and upsetting the order and proceeding of things. So let's see if they can sort themselves out there. But yes, it is Yorpa who leads the way. He's regained the lead of the race. Unstopped Rob in second. That guy Vince will be in third. But Zafso back in a fourth and trying to see if he still has that pace that he showed earlier on in the dry conditions.
Well, that's going to be huge out there in this race, and we do now need to talk about these tyres because we've had a wet period here, Hayden, onto the intermediate tyres. These drivers are not locked by compound over the course of this race. There's no requirement anymore for them to use 2 different types of dry tyre compound out there, as Mr. Dale will pick up 3 seconds worth of time penalty for a corner cut out there on track under yellow conditions. But now you can see here, everyone in the top 10 is on a medium compound tyre, with the sole exception of Nogueira, who is out there on the hard. So Nogueira, would you say, is gambling on the fact that those medium tyres should wear off between now and the end of this race?
Yeah, I feel like that's got to be the biggest gamble. Or unless he selected the tyres for the weekend that didn't allow him to have an extra set of mediums. Because if you go for balance, you get 2 sets of medium tyres. Either one of the soft or the harder, it means you get 2 sets of hard, but only 1 set of mediums. You go softer, you get an extra set of softs, but you lose a set of mediums in doing so. So maybe potentially for Nogueira that has happened. Or, yes, he's thinking, okay, no, those medium tyres, they're not going to make it to the end. I'm going to be better on the hards. And we definitely saw that, you know, with that guy Vince being very, very strong on those hard tyres up until the rain period. We definitely saw that from those guys. You can just see the drivers getting onto the track right now to try and let Dragonflies through to work his way back past the safety car. He's up into what is net 3rd position at the moment in terms of the traffic. It'll be up to Unstop Rob now to move off the circuit and let Dragonflies through. And then it'll be up to Yorpa, and then he will be able to unlap himself. There goes Unstop Rob off track. And now it's just Yorpa who will be able to move out of the way, and Dragonflies can get back on with his race as soon as possible. But yeah, for those guys on mediums, they're going to be really pushing at this stage of the race, but the hard tyres are going to be looking good in those final few laps.
Now, the reason why they have to pull off of the circuit is very much the Jarno Trulli Lewis Hamilton rule back in 2009 from Australia. And that reason why is that you are not allowed to overtake under a yellow flag. But if a car goes off the road, you, of course, do not have that ability to go on through. And that, or you do have the ability then to go on through because the car is off the track and as such is not technically following the safety car. One of the little perks that's there. Now, that's a very late call.
God, yes.
The safety car in this lap. So that's a huge backup from Yorpa. Everyone's got to be switched on here because he has got to let that go. That was at the 11th hour in the 59th minute. Yorpa will now let them all go. Who managed to get caught up in all of that? It looks like now it's going to be a Texas-style scramble over towards turn 1. A bit of 2 wide, even 3 wide, in towards the Rettifilo in the middle with Nogueira and co. all going through. And it looks like Meraki and Tom continue on their run. And suddenly Meraki and Tiamat Marduk together for 3rd in the championship being dealt with at this point. Tiamat Marduk trying to force away.
This is going to be really interesting of which drivers had tyre temperatures at that stage of the restart, because a lot of them would have been thinking, oh, we've got an extra lap here. I don't need to start warming up the tyres until the next lap. So they could potentially have very cold tyres at this stage, especially those drivers on the hard tyres. This is going to be a very interesting first couple of laps. I know it says safety car on the graphics. Safety car is in. There is not currently a safety car out on track. As you can see, they're all back to racing conditions. That will disappear shortly. Back into the action then. Yorpa leads. Unstop Rob still 2nd. That guy Vince 3rd, and Zafso still in 4th. No real change up at the front. Tiamat Marduk now in 7th position. Now trying to hunt down an old championship rival of Tom, who's currently in P6.
Yeah, Tom doing a good job there in P6 and now looking to try and find his way back forward. There is Punju, who is seeing yours sincerely the battle of the 3-second time penalties between them at this point, trying to navigate through. DRS officially enabled now as they can attack on the second lap, and Racing Shai and Meraki then together going wheel to wheel, and this is going to get dicey down as Meraki gets boxed in. Racing Shai down the inside, but still holding it. Give some credit to Meraki there, who had the almost impossible situation, and he's managed to make a pass out of it.
Look at the gamesmanship played there from Razin Shai. He was trying to force box in Meraki to stop him from getting past and helping himself getting past Meraki, which he's finally done now down into the second chicane. He was hoping they could box him in behind Tiamat Marduk. Meraki would have to back off, but Meraki was having none of it. He was pushing that battery. He managed to get that little bit of a gap and move into the space and still hold the position, but in the end, it was to no avail, and Razin Shai moves up into P8. So great move there. Nogueira on those hard tyres, maybe proving my point that he didn't get those tyres up to temperature, now out of that DRS window, and that's going to allow someone like Tom, who is right on his tail, to potentially get that overtake down into the first corner.
Well, I'd say that it'd actually be quite beneficial here for Nogueira, just to try and follow in the wheel tracks of someone, take the DRS, and then not lose any more time in the early stages of his hard tyres, knowing that the medium runners are going to have the advantage early and he can build up that confidence over the course of a stint. So knowing that gap has extended out, here goes Tom over to the outside, and he'll get that done very early on the straight. 4 clear at the front. Unstopped Rob, Yorpa, that guy Vincent Safsho right now, and there goes Tiamat Marduk flying down the inside of Nogueira. That puts him P6.
Yeah, great move there from Tiamat Marduk, capitalising on Nogueira's lack of pace in this early stage of this safety car restart, and will move himself up in a 6th position, still staying with Tom. And now these two need to see how much pace they've got to try and catch up to the back of Zafso. Now Zafso was probably one of the weaker of the 4 in the earlier stages of the dry conditions, and that will definitely benefit someone like Tom. And Tom and Zafso work really well together. So if Tom does have that pace, Zafso's going to open that door, allow him through, and then close it and make sure that Tiamat Marduk doesn't follow, allowing Tom to have that comfortability to go on the attack of the leaders.
Well, Yorpa now has just moved up into the race lead. He's got the pass done through the Seraglio and up towards Ascari, so that puts him ahead of Unstopped Rob, and now the chase is on, and they'll realise that they will catch Dragonflies back up again, who will form lap traffic in the not too distant future. This is a train that goes all the way back to Dark Viper, so the top 12 are fighting for 3 spots on the podium and 1 victory. You can tell me how many bridesmaids you can make out of that. Tom now with the fastest lap. Here goes Rasin Chai.
Yeah, great take there from Rasin, just utilising the DRS lap after lap up at the front. Unstopped Rob retakes the lead of this race away from Yorpa, but for everybody else, it's business as usual. Tom and Tiamat Marduk back within that 1 second now of that top 4 fight, as Yorpa just finding a lot of speed through the long right-hander there, and will just sit behind for the time being, behind Unstopped Rob. Nogueira just dropping position lap after lap, but we'll be banking on those final few laps of this race. The hard tyres will be better than the mediums, and we'll be hoping to try and work his way back through the field.
Well, I'll tell you what, Tom's done a great job to pull himself back into DRS range. It puts Tiamat Marduk now at 9/10 of a second here, right on the cusp, but crucially grabs DRS so he doesn't become in trouble from those behind. Yorpa again makes the move along that run. Tom, 3 seconds in the bank there for you for finding a small cut on the chicane, so he's got work to do now in this race. So any place he gets, he's got to find an extra 3 seconds out there overall. F1 Scott also now with 3 seconds to try and keep in mind, and those penalties will add up between now and the end of the race. They'll cross the line, they'll have 20 laps remaining in this one to find what they want. Yorpa looking behind at Unstopped Rob, and Unstopped Rob moves to the inside and says, I want to take control of this race. He leads again, does the Frenchman.
Yeah, these two are playing a very smart game at this stage of the race. They're just working together so well in a way that stops that guy Vince from disrupting them. That guy Vince really needs to move himself into 2nd position, because then he can take over that role and work together with the leader. Look, Yorpa just sitting right behind Unstopped Rob, basically giving a push down into the 2nd chicane there. But whilst those two work together, there's no open door for that guy Vince to find his way through. So he needs to desperately try and just sneak that 2nd position, and then it's up to him to take control with whoever's leading the race to try and snuff out the others and build up that opportunity. It's all about counting your numbers now, really, for these drivers. Is the final lap of the race, is it an odd number or is it an even number? Am I going to be in 2nd place on there or here? You know, it's all about setting yourself up now for that final pass. It looks like somebody at the back, that's Mr. Dale, who's had a little bit of a spin out of Les Mode 2 and has caused a yellow flag, but we're back to normal conditions. No safety car needed.
Yep, so that crucial then for Mr. Dale, and just pretty much epitomises his season. He now falls outside of the points out there in this race. He hasn't scored points since the season opener, and Mr. Dale, of course, was up as high as the race lead almost in this race. Side by side as Dark Viper sets the fast lap of the race. Rasin Chai down the inside of Tiamat Marduk moves up into P6, and he'll want Tommy's net P5 on the road right now. And you're going to see some drivers now jostling for position, because they'll realise at this point that if they leave it a little bit too late here right now, Hayden, they've got no chance of gaining the place they want without some dramas at the front of this field.
Certainly so. As I was saying, you know, you really need to be in 2nd. Maybe 3rd position can give you an opportunity if you have enough battery left at the end, but if you're 4th and 5th, there's no chance of getting that race win. It's not like Las Vegas where the start where that long straight is so long that if you're in 5th position, you have enough battery, you can make that overtake down in towards that corner. No, here you really need to be at least 3rd position to give yourself an opportunity. As further back, you've got a little bit of a battle going on for 10th position. It looks like Meraki just snuffs out M Sky Z and stays into 10th position. Really strong race at this stage for Brazin. He had that front wing damage earlier on, was sitting on the back of the train, lost out positions, of course, when fixing that front wing, but has now found himself back into 6th place. And it's just every now and again getting another position. Just builds up that battery and then goes for the attack again. Saves it behind the next driver and then goes for it again. And up at the front, they're still jostling for positioning and trading places as Unstopped Rob moves up into the lead of the race. And that is Dragonflies just getting out of the way in the background and doing a fine job of it. Just came really slow on the inside. But that is a little bit of a nuisance for the other drivers because it means, of course, they could not overtake on that lap as Mr. Dale comes into pit lane. He's fed up with his season. And that pretty much sums up Season 7 for Mr. Dale.
Yeah, retirement as is tradition, it feels like for him in this season. So he'll be looking to try and buck the trend over in Season 8. Yorpa continuing on his race right now with Unstopped Rob, that guy Vince, Safsho and Tom and Rasin Chai and Tiamat Marduk and Nagera and Meraki and Tom 97 and M Sky Z. And it's those drivers at the back which I feel are going to be the two to keep really heavily in mind. Yorpa getting close, but not close enough this time to make the move up into Ascari. Here comes M Sky Z with a little bit of hope, but that's not going to work because Tom 97 gets the line he wants, and it's the first time really we've seen the driver second in the championship in the Visa Cash App Racing Ball really start to flex his muscles.
Yeah, he's finally got onto the back of this train, and now he's looking to try and make some moves. On the back of Meraki, and look, he's also on the hard tyres, so he's going to be somebody that's hoping that they're going to be really good come the end of this race. Look up at back of the front though for Yorpa, and he's making his way past Unstopped Rob. Just routine for these two, trading those positions as it looks like Nagera finding his way past TMM Marduk, maybe starting to show that the hard tyres are the better tyres to be on at this stage of the race. Nagera finding a position and making his way up, closing on Razin Shai. It's all about this lap now. Can he push to close into Razin Shai? It looks like he's actually under attack from TMM Marduk. They're going to go side by side, and he's going to back out that position. TMM Marduk retakes it, and it's important they don't fight too hard because they're going to lose that 1 second, lose the DRS. Once you lose the DRS, it's going to be very difficult.
Look, it's a 1.1 here compared to Razin Chai. Tiamat Marduk's on the wrong side of it, and this is going to be a long old slog now for Tiamat Marduk to try and pull through. He needs pure pace if he wants to get back in this one and try and race out for a victory. Remember, he and Meraki both are wanting a top 2 here today to jump Alex Gillen in the championship, with them both 7th and 9th as things currently stand. They are on the wrong side of the road here, and the split has very much formed for the top 6 as things stands, with Tom and Rasin Chai, those 5th and 6th positions. Here goes Unstopped Rob. He's got his angle set, looking for the race lead, but watch out for that guy Vince, who'll be able to now think about jumping onto the back of Unstopped Rob and trying to find a lane to attack, but it's not quite there. Unstopped Rob unceremoniously will find the race lead, and that guy Vince trying to run around the outside and use some toe off the exit to put Yorpa under stress.
That was very, very important for that guy Vince. I was saying earlier, he needs to find himself into 2nd position. He's done just that, and now he's going to try and work together with Unstopped Rob and snuff out Yorpa. So it's between these two for who takes the race win at the end of this race. Great move there from that guy Vince to find himself into 2nd. But for Tom, he's right on the back of this pack as well, looking very strong too. As we've got yellow flags on track, that's that's Dragonflies, who has decided this will be the end of his race after quite an adventure, you've got to say, for the Aston Martin. Tiamat Marduk really losing a lot of pace in this race, just been overtaken by Tom 97 as well, and just dropping position after position. And we'll be hoping that the guys up front can catch back up, as that guy Vince hasn't just lost out to Yorpa there, he's also lost out to Zafso, and maybe even Tom as well.
Yeah, you're definitely seeing that, and Tom trying to go around the outside, he can't quite get there, so the Alpine starting to make their move here with 15 laps to go at the Temple of Speed, the Autodromo Internazionale Monza. Here goes the look then over towards the inside from that guy Vince, and it's covered off. Look at them, they're crossing the beams. down to the Retafilo. Yorpa down the inside of Unstopped Rob. He finds himself a way through, 2 wide and almost 3 deep right now, and off the road. Pushed off goes Tom.
I thought Razin Shai would have been close enough there to maybe sneak a sneaky position, but unfortunately was just a little bit too far back, and he's just watching, he's just sitting back. He's broken far too many front wings this season. He doesn't want to break another one, especially at these late stages, but they're fighting hard. He's got past that guy Vince, and he very nearly got past Tom as well, and that guy Vince had a great move for second place, but has found his way dropping through the field and now into 6th and at the tail end of this fight for the lead. Zafso now onto the podium, and it is really starting to kick off out there with just over 10 laps to go.
Well, look at what it's done. It's completely brought the groups back together again. So Nogueira's got back, but he's got 3 seconds of penalty, and so too Meraki, Tom 97, Tim Marduk, and 3 seconds for M Sky Z now on the back. It is a 12-car train once again at the front as Dark Viper looks to try and find a way through. Tom 97 dispatching a Meraki for position right now, as Meraki and Tim Marduk will now have their race in 9th and 10th. For 4th place in the championship, but at the front, Unstopped Rob now looking to try and go back through. Rasin Chai's deciding he wants to make some moves as well, and as they dance into the Retafilo once again, Rasin Chai trying to find the inside through turn 2 and drive off the exit. He has got 4th place only for the briefest of milliseconds now, as they will scrap through the Biasino.
Yeah, will to will between these two close friends. They're going to love this battle over in the VC as Razin Shai has a look up into the second chicane. Tom keeps it around the outside. Great respect left between the two of them, but Razin squeezed out on the exit there, and that allows that guy Vince to find his way through, and now that leaves Razin vulnerable to the hard tyre runner of Nogueira. Remember, Nogueira has that 3-second time penalty. Tom also has 3 seconds, so all these drivers that are clean at the moment will gain positions at the end, but that battle has also cost Tom, because it's 1.1 second the gap. That guy Vince overtakes Tom, moves into 4th position, and will really need to get a move on to close up to the back of Zafso and make sure they do not break the train.
Well, that guy Vince did so well with the draft. He was able to pull it just under a second, but on the straight, getting the drive out of Ascari, it just claws its way back over again. Savsho with the slipstream, able to close up to Unstopped Rob and keep that guy Vince at bay. Is there going to be DRS for him on the straight? I'm not sure there is as he goes through, but here goes Unstopped Rob again, looking for the race lead, and he's going to get it at this point. There goes Tom, he'll go flying back through, and they're trying to work in lockstep here to keep at bay these front three. And Yorpa, how much of a drive do you want? Same for Rasin Chai, Tom 97. He is slicing and dicing. He's now P6.
Yeah, I think Razin has got a little bit flustered with that side-by-side battle with Tom going through the chicane. I feel like he probably feels he wasn't left a lot of room on the outside there, and Razin's one of those drivers that can very much get under their own skin. They can get very frustrated with their own driving and what's going on out there, and they lose their head quite quickly, and unfortunately it looks like that potentially has cost them a couple of positions. Lost them to that guy Vince, now to Tom as well, and just needs to cool himself down, calm himself, and get into these last 10 laps, because everything is still to fight for. Tom, though, still just off the edge of that 1 second, and now that guy Vince picks up a 3-second time penalty, opening the door for Tom 97, who as it stands is going to gain 2 positions in this race.
Yeah, it's going to be perfect for him. I tell you what, Creator Series highlights guy, you've got your work cut out. What a pass by Tom 97 into the Curva Alboreto. That was committed, and he gets that one done with aplomb. And once more, it's Yorpa back to the front now with 12 laps to go here around Monza. He now finds the race lead once again, but look out, here comes back that guy Vince on the inside of the Retafilo to get it done. Rasin Chai behind, looking at Nogueira's hard tyres, thinking, well, he's definitely going to have some life to battle with towards the end. And here goes Meraki trying to put some daylight between himself and Tiamat Marduk. He'll get one, and Rasin Chai tries to block him. To the outside goes Meraki, and he can't quite get it.
Yeah, Tiamat Marduk also just putting his nose up the inside there, trying to find a gap. Tom momentarily managed to get back in the DRS zone of Zafso, but again, it's just on the fringes of 1 second as Nogueira and Tiamat Marduk momentarily went side by side through the Lesmos, but was unable to get it through there. Tom with maybe a mistake down into Ascari, losing out 4 attempts again, 5 attempts. No, that's just probably the benefit of DRS that Zafso currently has, sticking to the rear of Unstopped Rob, and he's looking very, very close now. 1/10 off between those guys. Who knows? Maybe Zafso can finally get a race win for such a long time since his last one. I think it was Season 2, the last win for Zafso. Also, you've got Unstopped Rob, who's never had a race win. And I'm not too sure if Yorpa's ever had a race win in Creator Series either. He's a very strong driver, but I'm not too sure if he's ever managed to step on the top step of the podium, as Tom makes a fantastic double move to move himself up in a P4 in the background there. And that guy Vince will get past Tom as well, and we'll move into P5. So Tom97 is now going to be that lead driver on those hard tyres, trying to catch back up to the top 3.
Well, it's now about trying to get what is possible done. Tom97 clearing the blockades, but now needing Safjo, Yorpa and Unstopped Rob to start battling together to give himself a real opportunity. He has stayed quiet in the first half of this race, and he knows how important it is. Blackmere, I think, has just gone off the road. We got yellow flags out there in Sector 1, but he's able to keep it going again with his 10 seconds worth of penalty. In fact, that might have been Yours Sincerely, it was, who found himself off the road. So a tough day for Yours Sincerely. At the front, we got an absolute grandstand coming into play for the final 10 laps at Monza.
And look at this, Tom97, the gap now, 7/10 of a second. Are those hard tyres the right call with 10 laps to go? Can Tom97 somehow find his way to a race win when it looked like it was so over in the early stages of this race? This is why you never ever give up in a Creator Series race, because things can change oh so quickly. Tom97, the fastest man out on track at the moment, a 1:20.5, and he is gunning for it. He is catching up to Zafso, Unstopped Rob and Yorpa, and he's looking like he is ready for the battle. This is going to get tasty in the final 10 laps of this race. He's also dragged along that guy Vince and Tom with him as well. TMM Marduk moves up past Razin Shai, and we'll be looking to try and catch up to that gap as well and get him back in the DRS zone. As it stands, he's beating his championship rival of Meraki, but Meraki, he moves past Razin. Nagera moves past Razin. It's all kicking off back there as Razin drops down into 10th position, and now Meraki will be looking to try and fight TMM Marduk for that 3rd spot in the championship.
Well, it'll be 4th because they need to beat Alex Gillen and they need 20 points to do it, which they are not doing as things stands. Again off the road goes Yours Sincerely. He does not like the opening section of track out there. 2 laps in a row. He has found himself off the road there and falls further and further behind. But right now, you are sitting here with 6 Grandmasters at the front of this field, and none of them want to sit down and find themselves with a schoolboy checkmate at this point. Tom97 at 9/10 of a second trying to find a way through. Unstopped Rob, that gap now 6/10 to Yorpa. I'm not sure Yorpa's going to see that move being done, but Safsho might decide he wants to make through. But look at the drive that Unstopped Rob gets. He's got a rocket ship heading towards the Retafilo, but he won't be close enough this time to make the move as he now starts playing mind games with Yorpa.
You see Tom97 just getting the rear end down a little bit on the exit of the second corner there, and that's lost him a little bit of time. 8/10 of a second once again, but that's good to know for Unstopped Rob. He now knows if he drops off a little bit, he makes a slight mistake, he has that straight line speed on Yorpa to put himself back into the DRS and stay close to the Kicksauber car, but it's looking very good. The problem with Zafso, he's a very passive driver. He doesn't necessarily go for those risky overtakes. He will be happy to sit in third position and take this as Yours Sincerely finally gives up on this race. He doesn't want to go through turn 1 and 2 again, so he decides to come into the pit lane and retire from this race as Yorpa gets overtaken by Unstopped Rob there, down in towards the Ascari chicane. But can Zafso finally become aggressive and go for that race win?
Well, that's the question that will be asked. When does Safsho decide to pull the trigger and make his intentions known in this race? Yorpa trying to run roughshod here at this point with Unstopped Rob. Both of those 2 drivers have been trading the race lead ever since the safety car came back in, and now Yorpa feels like, you know what, I can comfortably sit here. There's the battery harvesting from Unstopped Rob. There's the move back to the inside, and this is where I'm most comfy at the race lead. That's Yours Sincerely's car in front. This is going to be a little bit deadly as they try and go through, but they will funnel through. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. There's the car pulling off the road to say end of my race, but at least for the moment, now these drivers can start thinking about, okay, not much left to do. It's about where you want to be. This is a placement game.
Yeah, Zafso's in a really good place, I feel like. Third is a good position. Second is even better, though, because it gives you that option. But it's about when do you pull the gun? Do you go down into the first corner and then hope that you have enough battery down this straight on the run to Ascari? Zafso's got a fantastic exit. Might potentially go for it now on Unstop Rob, who's going to have to move to the inside line. And Zafso, I said P2's even better. He's got it. He's got past Unstop Rob, and now it's up to Zafso. And you can afford to be passive if you're in P2, because you just work together with the leader. It doesn't have to be an aggressive move. It just has to be, okay, I've got the DRS, I'll get you now. Now down the run to Ascari, you have the DRS, you get me back, and I'll slot back in P2. So this could work out very nicely for Zafso to try and fight for this race win.
Well, chances now are going to be so paramount. In goes Blackmere, and now here goes Zafso looking to move to the point for the first time out there. But look at the defence there by Yorpa. He was very much there and able. Nobody wants to pick up that race lead. Now they're deciding that they want to go through. Oh, Unstop Rob, you can't get that much closer to Zafso without a little bit of front to rear contact potentially bringing through. Tom 97 in the shuffle sees that guy Vince going through, and all the while, look out at Nagara's group right now with Tiamat Marduk and Meraki fighting for fourth in the championship. M-Sky Z wants a way through.
Yeah, M-Sky Z was just passing a little bit there with Raz and Shai. Meraki in the background there as Nagara on those hard tyres now leads the train, which is where he needs to be. He'll have the benefit, of course, on those hard tyres. But he's going to have to really push hard to try and catch up to Tom, who is on the back, of course, of the lead group. It's going to be difficult to close up that 3.5 seconds. Only to close in 2.5 of them. But that's a big margin to catch up. It's going to be very difficult for Nagara as he drags everyone along with him. Zafso still looking good in second position. And this is really only a 4-horse race at this stage, because you've got to remember that guy Vince, Tom, and Nagara all have penalties. So Tom 97 doesn't, as they're going really fighty down at the back there. And there's a yellow flag out on track. That's down into the Lesmos. That's not this lead pack, as Tom drops off behind that guy Vince. And Zafso potentially going to move into the lead. But here comes Unstop Rob.
This is brilliant. 3 wide, heading to the Retafilo. Unstop Rob with the power move, going to the point and leading now with 6 laps remaining here at Monza. Unstop Rob does not want to be denied his destiny of a first Creator Series victory.
This could be a great race victory if he can pull it off, but they're all scrapping away so close with one another. Zafso will be hoping and praying that Tom, his teammate, not Tom 97, Dutch Tom, that he can get into third position and then just become a bit of a blockade, because Tom's got that 3-second time penalty. He's going to be losing those positions anyway. He could potentially help his teammate fight for the race win. Blackbeard comes into the box, retires, makes it our 5th retirement from the day, joining Matty D, Mr. Dale, Dragonflies, and yours sincerely. And do you know what? I think they made the right call, because this battle at the front is so good that you might as well put yourself in the pit lane, retire, and just watch this battle unfold as Tom 97 undecided which way to go there on that guy Vince. Wanted to go right, then decided left, then went right again, then finally decided on left, and it's around the outside of that guy Vince, and he moves up into P4 in this race. But look down in towards turn 1. It's going to happen again. Blackmere's car is coming out of the pit lane, running very slowly, and these drivers are going to have to try and dodge him.
They certainly are. Look at this! 2 times in the grass by Zafso, trying to get the pass done. Yorpa locks it up, but can he get it sorted through turn 2? He'll have drive off the exit. He will. Zafso with a daredevil move that Ryan Hunter Ray would be proud of. He'll still lose out on the power, and Unstop Rob will find his way through. And here comes Tom 97 to the Della Roggia to try and find his pass on the inside line, and he won't get there.
I think Zafso was listening to the commentary, heard me call him passive, and was like, "You're calling me passive, just watch this." 2 tyres on the grass from Zafso. That was incredible to watch. Unfortunately, was unable to get the move done because Unstop Rob just had some great traction off that first chicane there. But I love the desire that Zafso's currently showing to try and take that race win as they trade positions once again up at the front between Yorpa and Zafso. And all that battling going on is actually allowing Nagara to close in. 2.6 seconds now the gap as he is closing on to this lead pack. And of course, he does have that 3-second time penalty, but he can fight with that guy Vince and Tom because they all have penalties to their name.
They all have those penalties, 5th, 6th and 7th, and because of that, they need an extra 3 seconds on anybody who they find behind them, which means that you feel it's a game of 4 at the front with 4 laps to go at Monza. Now you start thinking about where do you need to be best placed in a race like this, and there is no room at the inn to try and get what you want. Tom 97 trying to play bully as he goes through, but his Canis Canem edit is not going to be there for him on this lap, and now he'll need some patience.
Meanwhile, a little bit further back, the battle of the penalties. Tom gets past that guy Vince down in towards the first corner as well. Whilst they do have 3 seconds to their name, they're going to benefit from the position above one another too. Tiamat Marduk moves past Nogueira, and they are still continuing to close in on the front pack. 2.4 seconds now is that gap, but this is where they again start to lose time. On the exit of Lesmo 2, down in towards Ascari, this second DRS zone, they're going to continue to lose a little bit, attempt after attempt after attempt, as Jorpa re-overtakes Unstop Rob and takes the lead of this race. It's lap 50 out of 53. We've only got 3 laps after this one, and a winner is going to be decided, and I think this is going to be really, really good for Unstop Rob, potentially to take his first race win, as potentially Jorpa as well.
Well, nerves jangling there. Safsho taking a little bit of a wiggle, going through then at Ascari, knowing how crucial this race is going to be. Finding the right place at the right time is going to be what is tantamount at this stage. Tom 97 again looking for a mega run. Everyone covers everyone else. Unstop Rob going to the inside to try and get this move sorted. This is a dog-eat-dog race. Overtake or be overtaken. 2 wide, 2 deep off the exit.
Yeah, great will-to-will action between these 4 at the moment. Zafso just missing out. Tom right around the outside through the Curva Grande. Is he going to pull it off in towards the second chicane? No, he doesn't. Unstop Rob just closing that door, as Zafso still will-to-will with the RP car. They're still going side by side. Tom is also getting involved, the other Alpine driver. Can he disrupt this? Can he help out his teammate? Potentially he can. They're will-to-will at the moment, and he just slots in behind Tom 97 for the time being, but that's separated a little gap between the top 2 and Zafso and Tom in 3rd and 4th.
0.8 of a second, and that will take a little while to bring back together. Tom 97, desperate to make this move, will get through, and he'll need his pace to make this happen. This is a crucial moment in this one. Unstop Rob versus Jorpa with what is just going to be 2 laps to go. Right now, you sit down, you wait, you say the cup of tea is going to have to wait. You now have to sit down and watch what could be an almighty end to a spectacular creator series. Jorpa thinks about making the move down the inside. He will have control with a couple of popsicle sticks in the air.
This is the most important lap of the race now. Forget about the last lap, because you need to set that up right here on the penultimate one. You need to put yourself in the correct position that you have the advantage going on to the last lap, and you need to decide, am I going to go for it down in towards turn 1? Do I sit for P2 there, or do I take the lead down into Ascari, let myself get overtaken into the first corner, and then re-overtake and get the lead on the run down to Ascari on the final lap? It's all going to be decided right here on the run down to Ascari, what these drivers are going to do. How much battery do they hold on to now? Tom 97 in the background, also looking at this gaggle of cars. Unstop Rob deciding, no, I'm not overtaking now. I'm going to sit in second position. You can have the lead. I want the DRS.
Well, it's all down to here. They have raced 52 laps through rain and shine to get what they want. Defensive to the inside. Is he trying to bait the overtake? Oh, he was trying to play DRS chicken with Unstop Rob, trying to find that angle. A brave, bold call, but I'm not sure Jorpa's pulled this one off to give himself defense as they run on through, and now they will fan 3 wide onto the final lap. They engulf Jorpa. Unstop Rob versus Tom 97. Tom down the inside, little bit of argy-bargy, and the door gets thrown open, but here comes Jorpa back, and now he'll get drive on the outside, now through the Biasino. There is a chance that Unstop Rob is not going to be stopped, but Jorpa, who's only got a 3rd place this season, wants his first win as well, and there, Tom 97 sees Unstop Rob now has 1 DRS zone to try and hold, and that's the run through the Seraglio and up towards Ascari. It's held so brilliantly by the Mercedes driver, who has been second on 2 occasions this season. Is this the heartbreak that he's hoping he can't get? Here goes Yorpa now, who has been playing the Oracle so well in this one and takes the race lead, but there is still chances left, and you have to sit down. A Parabolica! Mistake! A mistake from Yorpa, and now through goes Tom 97 to second, 3 wide to Parabolica they go, and still it's Unstopped Rob trying to hold. Tom 97 has done this around the outside all day long and over towards the line. Tom 97 breaks Unstopped Rob's heart and wins. And Monza, what a race!
Jake, take a breather, because that was an incredible final few corners to this race. Oh my God. It looked like it was done. It looked like Yorpa had absolutely smashed it on the rundown to Ascari, but you were so correct. A little mistake. He ran it a little bit too wide, I think, or just lost the rear end. We couldn't quite see what happened to him, but he lost it slightly, and that allowed the door open for Unstopped Rob to go round the outside. But Tom 97 just had a fantastic run through that Ascari corner and had the battery remaining and just slingshotted it right around the outside. And he is our race winner for the final time in Season 7 of Creator Series. A fantastic drive, but your heart just has to break for Unstopped Rob, finishing 3rd position when it looked like the race win was going to be there. There is our Victoria. There is the victory for Tom 97, and he'll be absolutely gassed with that result. Driver of the day as well. Fantastic drive. Knocked out in Q2 to the top step of the podium and just managed it so well when we got past that rain period. So much has happened in this race. I've even just momentarily forgot that it went from dry to wet to dry again. That it just carried on so much. There was battles going on up and down the field. But it is Tom 97 who is our race winner today. Yorpa second on the podium with Unstopped Rob in 3rd. And I don't even know where the rest of the drivers finished because it was all kicking off out there. So let's take a look at the standings at the end of this race while we let Jake just get his breath back from that incredible final lap. It was Tom 97 who takes victory with Yorpa in 2nd, and Unstopped Rob rounds out the podium. Zafso finishing in 4th with some great driving out there from the Alpine driver. Team Madu back in a 5th, beats Meraki to 5th, and in the championship as well to that 4th position in the standings. Meraki 6th, Dark Viper recovers up to 7th with Razin Shai dropping down into 8th. Tom is in 9th, head of the other penalty places with Nagera in 10th, Dago Vince 11th, M Sky Z in 12th with Punju 13th, F1 Scott in 14th, and Arseno finishes the race in P15. And then our DNFs, Blackmere, Yours Sincerely, Dragonflies, Mr. Dale, and Matty D. Let's bring it back. Have you got your breath back, Jake? Are you alive again?
I'll blink twice, I'm all right. That was some incredible racing out there, and you could not ask for a better finish to the Creator Series than that. Simply put, you can hang that as a sim race in the sim racing pantheon of amazing battles out there, and it's what the Creator Series is all about. You just have to sit down and say one thing here, Hayden. That is why Tom 97 is P2 in the championship. He, in the first half of this race, was absolutely nowhere, and by the end of it, he had one chance, one opportunity, and he did not look away from it. He absolutely bossed it.
Yeah, an incredible drive from Tom 97 there. Just was picking up position after position. And you spoke about it very early on, about those drivers going onto the hard tyres. Do they believe that the hards are the better tyres to be on, and they have that advantage at the end? And you were so right. Tom 97, once the hards started to be slightly better than the mediums, was just making positions, doing very much a similar thing that Razin was doing earlier on in that second drive phase. Picking off the position, then save the battery in the DRS, then get the next driver, then save the battery, then get the next driver, and was just getting position after position until he found his way into that top 4 battle. And once you got to that top 4, it's very hard to break because they were all so close together and managing it so well. But that final lap just put his car in the right position, had the run of dreams out of Ascari and into the Parabolica, And it was a fantastic move from Tom97, right on around the outside. And he would have been hoping to keep it on the track and not that Unstopped Rob was going to understeer into him, and he was just able to hold it. And then Yorpa just finding his way through on the inside as well. Brilliant stuff. What a fantastic racer. Up and down the field, and brilliant to see.
Well, I believe we're just about going to be ready to get the chance to talk to Tom97 right now, who pulls off the absolute most cold-blooded move in the Creator Series this season. Tom, you have robbed 2 drivers there on that final corner of picking up their maiden win in the Creator Series. How does it feel to have possibly the greatest last lap in Creator Series history?
I really appreciate that, and I guess I'm a bad man for doing that. I really enjoyed it. I didn't think the win was on. I was not quite able to get through, but luckily, when it mattered, last lap, battery on point, we got it. And to be fair, credit to Rob for making that move fair, leaving the room as well. That's a very important thing that goes overlooked, but without him being the good dance partner, that doesn't happen. So.
It very much sat down for you in the first half of that race like you were nowhere. It was a very tough struggle, the intermittent changing conditions. Just talk through what happened through the first half of the race and how important that safety car was for you to give you some grounding.
Yeah, so I got caught up in that turn 1 incident. I'm not sure if it was shown live or you got much of it, but I think Arsenault was just sideways across the track, blocking, I think, me and 2 others. So we was just grounded to a halt, waiting for the Aston to clear, and eventually the VRC came out. I was trying to gather my thoughts. I lost like another 6 seconds under the VSC, driving like a bit of an idiot. So eventually, after a disastrous first lap, I got going. And I was just basically being given lap times by my chat, especially during the wet phase. And I was quicker than P1 consistently. So I was catching, I was on my way. Just obviously the safety car kind of speed run that process for me, which was good. So yeah, that definitely helped. And I was surprised actually not more went for hards, but I assume most of them started on them, hence why they couldn't run them again. So I knew I had that strategy advantage up my sleeve on tyres. So yeah, I think everything just worked out really well. Really well. I was telling my chat I wanted to try and, I didn't want a safety car. I wanted to try and get back to the front without one, but I'll never say no to one, put it that way.
Very much so. Hayden, I'll leave the floor open to you.
Brilliant drive there, Tom. Welcome in. Congratulations on the race win. Did you think that there was any possibility after not really being in the right position on the run down to Ascari on that final lap that you were going to take the race win? Did you think that it could still happen in the run down to the Parabolica? Did you save some battery, or were you just like, we'll just see what happens between the front 2?
It was actually on the run down to Ascari when I knew the win was on. That's when it clicked. So I was unsuccessful in the pit straight turn 1-2 chicane overtake attempt. Yorpa very intelligently got back through and got the switchback exit. So once I saw Yorpa go for the move on Rob with DRS down the back straight into Ascari, I knew the win was on, because they would have both burnt their batteries, you know, fighting, because that on paper is the last DRS zone, right? So you want to be ahead come the end of it. So they would have likely burned everything during that straight, whereas I was able to run from none from the Rogier chicane, the 4-5 chicane, all the way out of the exit of Lesmo 2, all in none. So I'd given myself about 50% charge, also left it in none through Ascari. So then I had about 55% to drop all the way down that back straight, which gave me the legs on Yorpa. And then once I got side by side with Rob, I knew I was going to send it, whatever happened, because it's the last time I'm doing it. So yeah, it worked out pretty well.
Wow. Well, some incredible racing from you, Tom. We'll leave you the floor to thank whoever you need to. It's a win here at Monza, and hopefully we'll see you charging up for a title challenge in Season 8.
I don't think that's going to happen, but thanks.
Well, there you have it. Tom97 there joining us, giving a wonderful showcase of his driving ability. We will take this time, though, to talk to a driver who ended up 3rd position today, who threw everything at the wall. Unstopped Rob. Rob, you probably had the most complete race out of everyone here today, and it just didn't fall your way.
Oh, mate, I'm sweating like never, to be honest. Even A doesn't make me sweat like this in Formula 2. But yeah, it was very, really tricky, especially in the wet with the DRS train, and trying I mean, I tried sometime to break the DRS with the other, but it was too difficult. The DRS is too much powerful in this game.
So talk us through working through that final stint with Yorpa. You had the likes of that guy, Vince, behind you. Very much the same as what was going on in that opening stint. And going through from qualifying, actually having that monster qualifying time that put itself on the board. For you, how vital was it to just sit down and realise, right, I'm in a race and I need to be in the right place at the right time?
Well, starting quickly with quali, I just want to thank Vince for the draft, for the slipstream, because it was really useful. Probably with that I gained like 2 or 3 tenths in the last sector. So thanks to him, even if he was not agreeing with that. But for the race and the last stint especially, it was really tricky, as I said. I was trying to switch position with Yorpa to try to make the gap with the guy behind, because I knew. Thanks to Skyzy, that Tom was coming back with hard tires, and obviously the hard tires were definitely better at the end. So it was really tricky to manage the DRS, but try to pull away from the guys behind. So it was really tricky. I think we had like 1 or 2 shots to make it, but unfortunately, Savzo, I'm sorry, I love you, but bro, you broke everything the 2 times, I think. So it was impossible for it to break the DRS, and at the end, Tom was coming back like a rocket ship, and we had a little chance, but I think Yorpa spawned in Ascari on the last lap, which make us lost the P1. To Yorpa and P2 for me, I think.
Well, I'm going to open the floor up to Hayden here, who was really impressed with the way you were driving today.
My heart breaks for you, Rob. My heart breaks for you. I honestly thought today was going to be that day that you finally get that first race win in F1, but it's coming. You got to believe that it is coming. It was a fantastic performance from you, nonetheless. Talk us about that final lap, because we didn't quite catch what happened to your, because we were watching on board with you and the camera angle didn't quite show what happened. We just saw you go side by side in towards the end of that Ascari chicane. You said that it lost you the chance of P1. Did you potentially have to back off the throttle out of Ascari, gifting that run to Tom? Is that what happened?
Not exactly, because the thing started on the last lap on the finish line when Tom put a lot of ERS. I think Tom was definitely running so much low wings compared to us, which helped him definitely. And so on the exit of turn 2, I was in sandwich between Yorpa and Tom, so I was trying to push the ERS to stay ahead of them, because otherwise I would be just P3 and sitting and just waiting. And then coming to after the second Lesmo, I let Yorpa pass, because I knew that he had more ERS than me. And then Yorpa made a mistake in the Ascari, on the hairpin of the Ascari turn, and then I switched back to him, but Tom had so much top speed, like it was impossible for me. I tried something like let him by on the outside, so I had probably the best opportunity on the inside, but on the going back to the throttle on the last corner, I just had a little of wheel spin and just make me lose P2 and probably P1 as well. So yeah, a difficult lap and a frustrating lap. So I can understand you, and my heart is break at the moment as well.
Well, what an incredible drive from you. It's a shame that it ends only in a P3 in terms of your run, but the floor is yours for anybody you'd like to thank heading from here today over towards next season, Season 8.
Thank you for to everyone for the support in the chat, etc. Thank you for the creators with everyone, with everything what happened during this season. I hope everything can go better, and I'm just gonna take the stream like to just announce to my community that I at least apply for next season. So I will probably, if Adon and the organization want me, I will probably be there for the next season.
Maybe.
So thank you, everyone.
If you're good, boy.
I hope. So thank you, everyone, and thank you again for the organization. Even if there is some stuff to fix, I hope you're gonna fix it. And thanks for the stream as well, because you are putting a lot of work into it, and it's really enjoyable to watch.
There you have it. Unstop Rob joining us, a third position, all things considered, at the end. We've got a couple bits of housekeeping to deal with before we bring this season to a close. And Hayden, I think this one's the important one. I'll hand it over to you. Who do you believe is driver of the day?
Oh, driver of the day. He finished in P3. It's the driver we just spoke for me. And that might be a bit of bias because we went through so much together in F2. But I think it was a fantastic performance from Unstopped Rob. And it was just caught out right at the end. There's a lot of drivers in the hat because there was some fantastic drives. Tom97, of course, a brilliant drive as well. Thoroughly deserves it. But if I'm going to give it to someone other than the race winner, it's Unstopped Rob for me.
Unstopped Rob is very much a worthy pick. Yorpo's definitely another name you can throw in the hat, but we'll say that Unstopped Rob today was the driver of the day here from the Autodromo Nazionale Monza. And Hayden, the end of Season 7 is here, but Season 8 will be on the horizon in the not-too-distant future. There's a good reason why you should follow all of these socials up on the top of the screen, because you'll get information of when that next season is coming along with some other stuff that we got, including our WRC series, which is going on Monday night. So, Hayden, Season 8, how much are you looking forward to that and the challenges that will throw up?
I'm thoroughly looking forward to it. It's going to be a very exciting season. There's a lot of changes going into Season 8. We're not going to announce everything just yet, but there are a lot of things changing to take it away from league racing and get it back to its roots of creators coming together for a one-off event every week and just having a good, fun time racing each other, hard battles out on track, and that's what we're looking forward to. And also, I can reveal when we're going to get back into racing. It's going to be Singapore weekend, so which means the first race is going to be at the Singapore Grand Prix, which is always going to throw out an exciting one.
It absolutely is. So you know the time, you know the place, you know when to jump back in with us here at Creator Series. From Hayden Gullis and myself, Jake Sperry, and everybody who has worked on this show over the course of this Season 7, what a showcase we have had. In the absence of the king, the denizens underneath them put on an exhibition to rival the gods. Tom97, the cool hand Luke of this series, picking up where he belonged. A victory that robbed and stole the heart of two drivers, one Mr. Yorpa, one Unstopped Rob. We will see how those alliances come into play when we are back with you on Singapore weekend. Take care, and we'll see you when Creator Series is back in town.